Chapter 435. The Empress could temporarily keep Wanwan's mouth, but she could not keep her heart forever. For as long as she could remember, she had been by Lu Hanyan's side. After being separated from her for so long, she was naturally not used to it. Lu Hanyan and Li Qing were now at Mount Baiyun. They were being nurtured as the next head. They needed to cultivate diligently every day and could not return to the divine capital. However, this could not go on. In order to reinvigorate Wanwan, Li Mu planned to send her back to Lu Hanyan's side. After the envoys left, there was nothing much to do in the imperial court. Li Mu could also make a trip back to Mount Baiyun. In Chengel Palace, Li Mu finished dealing with the last memorial. He turned around and said to the Empress, "Your Majesty, I need to send Wanwan back to Mount Baiyun. I will be back in a month at the latest." Zhou Yi put down her book and asked, "It's just a trip to the North County. Will it take a month?" Li Mu said, "A few days ago, the Office of Consecration received news that a fox demon was causing trouble in Zhejiang County. The local government was unable to suppress it. I can go investigate on the way. It might take a few days." Zhou Yi was a little dispirited. She said, "Then you can go." Li Mu stood up and bowed. "I will take my leave first." Walking out of Chengel Palace, Li Mu held Wanwan's hand in one hand and Xiao Bai's hand in the other. He prepared to return to the Li residence to pack up and leave early the next morning. Wanwan was not as happy as Li Mu imagined. More specifically, she was happy one moment and sad the next. Li Mu could not help but pinch her face. He asked, "I'm going to take you to see your young miss. Are you still not happy?" Wanwan sighed. "I'm happy," Li Mu asked. "Happy? Why are you sighing?" Wanwan said worriedly, "There are only vegetables and tofu in the mountains. I haven't finished tasting the dishes in Sister Zhou's imperial kitchen." There were 36 counties in the Great Zhou, and each county had hundreds to thousands of local dishes. The imperial kitchen had gathered all the famous chefs in the 36 counties, and new dishes were constantly being introduced. It was impossible to try all the dishes. Li Mu was suddenly curious and asked Wanwan, "If you can only stay in one place in the future, would you be willing to stay by your young miss side in Mount Baiyun, or would you be willing to stay by Big Sister Zhou's side in the imperial palace?" Wanwan froze for a moment, then began to pinch her fingers. At this moment, it often meant that she was in a dilemma. After thinking for a long time, she raised her head and asked, "Can't Miss come to live with us in the palace?" Li Mu shook his head and said, "How can there be such a good thing? Between your Miss and Sister Zhou, you can only choose one." Wanwan hesitated for a long time, but she still could not make a decision. She said, I still want both." To be safe, the Consecrations Department would send at least 3 Creation Realm experts to deal with a 5-tailed fox demon. Li Mu happened to be sending Wanwan back to Baiyun Peak, so he came to take a look. Firstly, it was to quell the chaos in Zhejiang County. Secondly, it was a 5-tailed fox demon. Perhaps it knew the cultivation method for a fox demon after reaching the 5-tailed stage. The earlier Li Mu obtained it, the earlier Xiao Bai could cultivate it. Ever since she became a 5-tailed fox demon, her cultivation hadn't increased for a long time. Zhejiang County had many mountains, and even the county city was a city in the mountains. At the most conspicuous spot at the city gate of Zhejiang County City, there was a notice posted. The notice said that a fox demon had been causing trouble in Zhejiang County recently and had injured many cultivators. The government announced that if a cultivator could capture or kill the fox demon alive, they would be rewarded handsomely by the imperial court. The fox demon had caused quite a commotion in Zhejiang County recently. Even the commoners knew about it. Within the county city, there were discussions about the demon everywhere. "I heard that the fox demon has already cultivated 5 tails. It's very powerful. Many cultivators have had their dermic powers sucked away by it." "It's not just sucked away their dermic powers. I heard that even their hearts, livers, spleens, lungs and kidneys have been dug out and eaten. I'd better not go out for now. When will the government eliminate this fox demon and restore peace to Zhejiang County?" As Li Mu walked on the streets, he heard many rumors about the fox demon. It was possible that the fox demon had sucked away the dermic powers of cultivators. However, the rumors of it eating people's hearts and livers were purely based on reading too many supernatural novels. For a demon to be able to cultivate into a human form, its habits were similar to that of a human's. A normal person would not do such a thing. Similarly, a normal demon would not do such a thing. However, sucking away the dermic powers of others to cultivate was forbidden by the imperial court. Regardless of whether one was a human or a demon, they all had the freedom to cultivate in the Great Zhou. However, the precondition was that they did not harm others. The imperial court had always been strict about taking shortcuts by harming others. Li Mu found a restaurant and ordered a pot of tea and a few dishes. He planned to go to the Zhejiang County Yamen to inquire about the fox demon's whereabouts after he finished eating. He would capture it and help Xiao Bai find out about the cultivation method. It was lunchtime and there were many customers in the restaurant. Li Mu's gaze casually swept across the crowd. His gaze lingered on a table in the corner for a few seconds. There were 5 people at that table. They were all cultivators. 2 of them were in the creation realm while the other 3 were in the transcendent realm. This kind of strength was naturally not worth mentioning in the 6 sects or the Department of Offerings. However, in a small county city they could be considered a powerful force. It should be known that in the Zhejiang County Yamen, there were only 2 in the creation realm and 1 in the transcendent realm. Their lips moved slightly but no sound came out. It was as if they were communicating through dermic powers. Li Mu had no interest in eavesdropping, but these people had a strong murderous aura. When they communicated through dermic powers, the smiles on their faces were too vulgar. It was obvious that they were not plotting anything good. It was very easy to attract Li Mu's attention. In order to make sure that they were not planning something that would harm the people, Li Mu closed his eyes and moved his ears slightly. It was a type of demonic technique that originated from the Bat clan's innate divine power. It could easily eavesdrop on their dermic powers. Those people from the Yamen are really stupid. They believed us so easily, it's a pity that they are too useless. They can't even deal with a 5-tailed fox demon. In the end they had to ask others for help and almost ruined our plans. It would be such a pity if the target that we've been eyeing for so long was obtained by others. That fox demon is not easy to deal with. If those people hadn't injured her, we wouldn't have had a chance until now. Hurry up and eat. Once we're done we'll act immediately. That fox demon should still be recuperating. We can't delay any longer. If the Great Zhou Court sends a true expert, our efforts over the past few months will have been in vain. A 5-tailed fox demon will definitely sell for a high price. Big brother, after we capture her, can you let me have some fun first? I haven't had a taste of a 5-tailed fox demon yet. T, a fox demon that hasn't been touched by anyone is only valuable. Take care of that damn thing of yours. Li Mu opened his eyes, picked up his teacup and took a light sip. It was such a coincidence that he would meet the instigators of the fox demon incident at a random restaurant. The cause of the incident was that these 5 people had their eyes on the fox demon. However, they were no match for the fox demon, so they came up with this plan of borrowing the power of the local government to weaken the fox demon first. Then, they would be able to take advantage of the situation behind the scenes. It was a wishful thinking. The Great Zhou was a human government. Generally speaking, the people of the Great Zhou referred to the humans who lived in the Great Zhou. For the imperial court, if demons harmed people, the government had to kill them. However, killing demons by humans was not something the government should be concerned with. These 5 heretical cultivation practitioners had used this reason to make use of the Zhejiang County government. Their goal had been that fox demon from the very beginning. There were evil demons who ate the essence, blood and souls of humans. There were also evil humans who killed demons for their course. There was also a group of cultivators who did not walk the righteous path. Because they were afraid of the imperial court, they did not dare to attack the common people. Therefore they targeted demons. Killing people was against the law, but killing demons did not count. Even if the Great Zhou Court found out, they would not do anything to them. In Li Mu's eyes, these people were no different from those evil demons. When he was halfway through his meal, the 5 people had already left their table and strode out of the restaurant. Li Mu left a silver ingot and walked out slowly. Not long after, outside the Zhejiang County, a thin man closed his eyes and sensed. He pointed in a direction and said, "The blood curse's reaction is over there. Let's go." As he finished speaking, several figures shot up into the sky and flew forward. At a certain moment, the thin man suddenly stopped and looked back. The other 4 people also stopped and asked, "Big brother, what's wrong?" The middle-aged man looked back and said, "I keep feeling that someone is following us." The other 4 people immediately became alert. They looked around but found nothing. One of them was puzzled and said, "There's nothing. Big brother, are you mistaken?" Another person said, "Even if someone is following us, it's impossible for there not to be any fluctuations of mana. Big brother, are you being too sensitive?" The thin man looked around and said, "Maybe I'm thinking too much. Let's go." The 5 people continued forward and quickly disappeared. But after the time it took to drink a cup of tea, they appeared out of thin air. The man who disappeared looked around again and sighed in relief. He said, "Looks like there really isn't anything." One of them smiled and said, "I already said Big Brother is being too sensitive. Let's go quickly. If that fox demon escapes, it will be difficult to find." The 5 people flew away again. On the ground, an invisible figure followed behind them at a leisurely pace. The invisibility spells of Taoism were of little value and could only be used on mortals. In front of cultivators of the same level, they would definitely be exposed. Although invisibility spells could prevent any fluctuations of mana, he could only rely on the strength of his legs. If he used spells to fly or ride on clouds, he would be easily discovered. Fortunately, Li Mu cultivated to Taoism. His body was far stronger than normal cultivators. Even if he only relied on the strength of his legs, he would not lose sight of him for a while. After only 15 minutes, he sensed a strong fluctuation of mana in front of him. The few heretical cultivation cultivators should have been fighting with the fox demon and could not take care of this place. Li Mu put on his clothes and hid behind a tree to observe the situation in front of him. 5 heretical cultivation cultivators were besieging a woman. The woman's cultivation seemed to be at the 5th level, but she seemed to be injured. Her breath was extremely unstable. Under the siege of the 5 heretical cultivation cultivators, she could not fight back at all. After taking a few blows, her breath became even more chaotic. Li Mu thought to himself, if he saved the fox demon at this time, she would be indebted to him for saving her life. Even if she was not of the Heavenly Fox clan as her savior, he did not need her to repay him with her body. As long as she told him the cultivation method of the Heavenly Fox clan, it should not be too much, right? Thinking of this, Li Mu wanted to take action. Half of his body was already out of the tree, but he suddenly shrank back. In the distant sky, more than 10 figures were rushing over. These figures all exuded a strong aura. Li Mu hid behind the tree and took a peek. He could not help but be shocked. Among the 10 people, the woman in the lead was Phantom Princess. Chapter 436. Huanji led the group over. Seeing the fox demon covered in wounds and weak aura, she immediately realized something. She glanced at the 5 heretical cultivation cultivators and gritted her teeth. "You deserve to die." The Fox clan elites beside her were also enraged. They took out their Dharma treasures and weapons and attacked the 5 evil cultivators. Huanji flew to the fox demon and asked, "Are you okay?" Although the fox demon didn't know the woman in front of her, she felt a very familiar aura from her. She knew that the woman was a fox like her. Not only the woman but the others also had a demonic aura. She relaxed and said, "I'm fine. Thank you, sister." Huanji held her hand and transferred her spiritual energy into her body. She asked, "Why were you chased by these people?" Speaking of this, the fox demon's face was filled with anger. She gritted her teeth and said, "These villains captured many of my people and sold them to those despicable humans. They also targeted me. They framed me for harming people and asked the government to gather human cultivators to kill me so that they could reap the benefits. If you didn't save me, I would have been in their hands." Huanji's face was filled with hatred. She said angrily, "These despicable humans." On the other side, the 5 heretical cultivation cultivators were complaining in their hearts. They thought that victory was in their hands and they would soon capture the fox demon that they had been eyeing for months. Fox girls were rare in the black market, not to mention a 5-tailed one. If they were lucky enough to meet a rich buyer, they could exchange it for a lot of spiritual jades. But who would have thought that just as they were about to succeed, so many people would suddenly appear out of nowhere? These dozen or so people were all at least at the 4th realm. At least 4 of them were at the 5th realm. The 3 divinity realm evil cultivators were quickly captured. The other 2 5th realm cultivators could only put up a resistance for a short while before their dermic powers were sealed and they were tied up tightly. Huanji looked coldly at them and said, "Take them back and deal with them." Li Mu hid behind a tree and hid his aura. He didn't choose to help these people. This was their own sin, so they had to bear the consequences. At this moment he was thinking about something else. If he went out now, what were his chances of taking down Huanji? Huanji's subordinates were negligible, but she herself was not easy to deal with. As the 2nd generation of the demon race, she had countless magic treasures. Li Mu had already experienced it once. Although Li Mu was not afraid of her, this was Zhejiang County, which was adjacent to the demon nation. If Huanji were to summon the Lord of Illusions, he would be in big trouble. After thinking about it for a long time, Li Mu still did not take the risk. Not far away, Huanji said to the fox demon, "Sister, your injuries are not light. Why don't you come to my place to recover? After you recover, you can choose whether to stay or leave." The fox demon didn't think for long before she nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you, sister." Her injuries were indeed not light. Although they were not fatal, she could not use much of her strength. At this moment, a transcendent realm cultivator could capture her. The woman in front of her whom she had never met before was of the same clan as her. The Fox clan would not harm their own. Huanji supported her and said, "Let's go." Just as she was about to leave, she suddenly frowned. She reached out and a palm-sized compass appeared. The needle on the compass spun quickly and finally pointed in a certain direction. Huanji looked in that direction and her face sank. She said sternly, "Who is there? Come out." As soon as she finished speaking, several of her subordinates behind her flew towards a huge tree. Behind the tree, a figure squatted down and said in fear, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I'm just passing by." A man looked at the figure and asked, "Who are you?" The figure looked up and revealed a handsome face. His expression was one of fear as he said with a trembling voice, "I'm not a human, I'm a demon." At this moment, they realized that his body was emitting a faint demon aura. It was not strong and seemed like he had just transformed. The man frowned and asked, "Why are you sneaking around here?" The young man pointed at the 5 heretical cultivators and said, I was passing by and saw them fighting. I was afraid that they would kill me, so I hid here." The man sized up Limu and walked to Huanji. He said, "Lord Huanji, it's a small demon." Huanji nodded and said, "Let's go." Just as the man was about to leave, he turned around and looked at the little demon. He thought for a moment and said, "Sir, this little demon is very handsome. Although he is a bit timid, he might be of great use in the future if we train him." The others sized up the small demon again. They realized that although this demon was not strong, he was very handsome. Soft skin and tender flesh. Not bad. This is rare even in Meizong. Not only is he rare, even the young Cui Ming would have to avoid him. The man looked at Huanji and said, "Lord Huanji, Meizong is lacking in manpower. With this small demon's appearance, he might be able to carry Meizong in the future." Huanji looked at the small demon and thought for a moment before saying, "Go ask him if he's willing to join Meizong." The man walked to the small demon and asked, "Small demon, what's your name?" The small demon lowered his head and shivered. He said, "My surname is Wu, you can call me Yanzu." As he spoke, his human eyes gradually turned into a pair of green vertical pupils. The change in the small demon's eyes proved his identity. The man pointed at Huanji and said to the small demon, "Little snake, that's Lord Huanji of Meizong. Are you willing to join Meizong and follow Lord Huanji?" The small demon hesitated for a moment and asked softly, "Is there any benefit in joining Meizong?" The man smiled and said, "There are many benefits. In the Meizong sect, you can obtain spiritual jades for cultivation and also receive guidance from experts. Lord Illusion Princess's father, Lord Illusion Heaven Lord, is a 7th level Shen demon. If you can receive his guidance, maybe you will have the chance to become a great demon in the future." When the small demon heard this, his eyes lit up. He immediately nodded and said, "Then I'm willing." The man patted him on the shoulder and said, "Then let's go." After keeping the small demon, the group flew into the air again. The handsome demon did not have enough spiritual power and was carried by the others. They flew all the way to the demon country in the depths of the 100,000 mountains. The man beside the small demon looked at him and asked, "Little snake, what other relatives do you have in your family? Aren't you going to tell them?" After a while, the small demon was already familiar with them. He said, "My parents were killed by human cultivators long ago. I've always been alone. I don't have any relatives." In the group, another person gritted his teeth and said, "Damn humans. How many demons have died in their hands? They write about demons eating humans all day long. Why don't they write about humans killing demons? Demons killing humans is intolerable. Humans killing demons is enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens." The small demon said, "Not all books are written like that. There's a book called Strange Stories from a Chinese studio. It's written quite well. There are evil people in it, but there are also demons who are affectionate and righteous." The man said, "I know about this book. Lord Huanji likes to read it. She even asked us to find Pu Songling and pay him a visit. Unfortunately, we haven't found him." He shook his head and said, "There aren't many people like Mr. Pu who are sensible. Most of the humans keep saying that the monsters are evil, but what have they done? Killing the monsters, taking their souls, stealing our monster cores, capturing the female monsters of the fox race and the snake race, sealing their cultivation base and providing them with entertainment. It's not just female demons. Many handsome male demons were also captured by them to satisfy the different desires of humans. Little snake, you're just lucky. With your looks, if those humans saw you, they would definitely capture you and make you do that kind of thing with them. The small demon was stunned. Then he said embarrassedly, "There's such a good thing?" The man patted his shoulder and said, "You're thinking too much. If you're lucky, they'll make you accompany those old women. If you sleep with them for one night, you'll have nightmares for 10 days. If you're unlucky, they'll make you accompany men. Ah, do you still think that's a good thing?" The small demon was so scared that his face turned pale. He said, "Too scary, too scary." The man beside him smiled and said, "Don't worry. Now that you're with Lord Huanji, no one can bully you. Cultivate well in the future. Only when you're strong can you control your fate as a demon." The small demon's face became serious. He said, "I know. Thank you, big brother." Chapter 437. The group flew across the 100,000 mountains. Half a day later they landed in a city in the mountains. The handsome little demon asked the handsome man next to him, "Brother Hujiu, where are we?" The handsome man smiled and said, "This is the Thousand Fox country. It's also where the Meizong sect is located." After entering the city, everyone dispersed. Hujiu said to Li Mu, "Come with me." Although the Thousand Fox country was a demon country, the demon capital was no different from a human city. There were streets, shops, all kinds of buildings, tea houses, taverns, and even brothels in the city. If it weren't for the demon chi emitting from the people passing by, it would be impossible to tell that this was a demon country. Although the demon race and the human race were often at odds with each other, they also yearned for the human race's appearance and the splendid culture they created. The royal family of the Thousand Fox country were fox demons, but there weren't many fox demons on the streets. Most of them were demons of other races that were attached to the fox race. The other demon countries were probably in a similar situation. In addition to demons, there were also humans on the streets, but there were very few of them. They should all be from the Meizong sect. Hujiu led the little demon through several streets and walked into a very large mansion. The two of them came to a side courtyard near the front of the mansion. Hujiu brought him to a room and said, "This is Lord Huanji's mansion. You can stay here for now. When you have enough contributions, you can use your contributions to move out and live in a separate mansion. Okay, you rest first. I'll come and see you tomorrow morning." Hujiu walked out of the room and the door closed automatically. The handsome little demon sat on the bed and let out a long sigh of relief. When he was discovered by Phantom Princess during the day, Li Mu wanted to escape directly into the sky teapot space. But on second thought, this was a rare opportunity. If he missed it, Xiao Bai's cultivation would be delayed for a long time. As the saying goes, you can't catch a fox without entering the fox's den. For Xiao Bai's cultivation and to find out the details of the Meizong sect, Li Mu finally chose to take the risk. Only by getting close to Huanji would he have the chance to obtain the subsequent cultivation methods of the Fox clan. Furthermore, he wanted to find out how many spies Meizong had planted in the imperial court. The Meizong sect liked handsome and beautiful men and women. As an enemy, the Phantom Princess had extended an olive branch to Li Mu from the start. It could be seen that the Meizong sect was lacking in people. Of course, Li Mu could not use his original appearance. For safety's sake, he pretended to be an extremely handsome snake demon. For Li Mu, who possessed the demon clan's heavenly book, pretending to be a demon was a simple matter. He could even use the demon race's divine ability to change his form and transform into a snake. What happened after that went according to his expectations. As long as they didn't get too close to Lord of Heaven Illusion, they wouldn't be discovered. On the way there, Li Mu had already learned from Hujiu that Lord of Heaven Illusion had just gone into seclusion. Moreover, the seclusion this time was extremely long. Before the seclusion, he had completely handed over Meizong to Huanji. In other words, Thousand Fox Nation and Meizong sect would not have a seventh realm powerhouse guarding them for a very long time. In other words, Li Mu could do it boldly. Right now, he was just a newcomer and couldn't gain Huanji's trust. He could only take one step at a time and wait for the right time. He first secretly sent a message to Lu Hanyan and the Empress, informing them of his plan and telling them not to worry. Then he turned off the lights and went to sleep. From now on, he was an ordinary little demon in Huanji's residence. The next day, Li Mu had just woken up when a familiar voice came from outside the door. "Little snake, are you awake?" It wasn't Li Mu's first time seeing Hujiu. When Huanji brought people into the White Emperor Cave abode last time, Hujiu was by her side. Perhaps Hujiu felt that this name was familiar, so she didn't call him by the fake name he gave himself. Li Mu got out of bed, opened the door and asked with a smile, "Big brother Hujiu, what's the matter so early in the morning?" Hu Jio walked into the room and put a pile of things on the table. She introduced them one by one. This is your waist token, which can prove your identity as Meizong sect. These spiritual jades are the cultivation resources you can receive every month. Originally, with your level, you only received 10 pieces, but Lord Huanji said that you just joined Meizong sect, so she gave you an extra 10 pieces this month. I see that you don't have any weapons, so I'll give you this sword. Although it's not a powerful Dharma treasure, it should be enough. Other things aside, Meizong sect treated newcomers very well. Not only did they provide him with food and accommodation, but he also got paid before he made any contributions to Meizong sect. Not to mention other things, just the sword in Li Mu's hand at this moment was of a higher grade than Bai Yi. Hu Jio continued, your strength is too low, so I don't have any important tasks for you for the time being. You should cultivate slowly and advance to the upper realm as soon as possible. Now you have to come with me to see Lord Huanji. Walking out of the courtyard, Li Mu asked, Big brother Hu Jio, why is Lord Huanji looking for me? Hu Jio smiled and said, don't worry, although Lord Huanji has a noble status, she usually treats her subordinates very well. Following Lord Huanji there are countless benefits. She should be looking for you today because of the sect entrance ceremony. What sect entrance ceremony? You'll know in a while. Hu Jio led Li Mu all the way and soon entered a spacious courtyard. The courtyard was very large. There were artificial mountains, ponds, grass gardens and everything else. Huanji stood with her back to the door. Hu Jio led Li Mu in and bowed, Lord Huanji, I've brought him here. Li Mu also bowed and said, Greetings, Lord Huanji. Huanji turned around, looked at Li Mu and said lightly, those who enter my Meizong sect must abide by the rules of Meizong sect and keep the secret of Meizong sect. Those who betray Meizong sect, even if you escape to the ends of the earth, I will personally kill you. You still have the chance to go back on your words. Li Mu pointed to the sky and said, I, Daniel Wu, swear to the heavens that if I betray Meizong sect, let me become a dog. For the Snake Clan, there was nothing more ruthless than this oath. Li Mu learned this from the two sisters Yin Xian and Ting Xian. Hu Jio smiled and said, your Snake Clan still doesn't like the Dog Clan. Li Mu coldly snorted and said, from the moment they pledged allegiance to humans, they were no longer Monster Clan but our enemies. Huanji crossed her arms and said, well, as long as you do one more thing, you can become an official disciple of Meizong sect. Li Mu cupped his fists and said, please instruct me, Lord Huanji. Huanji pointed to a stone statue next to the rockery and said, slash it with your sword. Although he didn't know what strange rule this was, Li Mu still walked to the stone statue next to the rockery. When he raised his sword he was stunned for a moment, but it was only for a moment. Then the sword in his hand fiercely slashed down. Clang. Li Mu's sword slashed the stone statue, leaving a shallow sword mark. He walked back and asked curiously, why do you want to slash this stone statue? Huanji looked at him indifferently and said, this is not something you should ask. On the way back, Hu Jio explained to Li Mu, that person is Lord Huanji's enemy. If you meet him in the future you have to avoid him. Li Mu was confused and asked, why? If I meet him, shouldn't I kill him to avenge Lord Huanji? Hu Jio glanced at him and said, then you have to have the ability to do so. This person's Dharma power is very strong. Countless cultivators of the Devil's Doctrine have died at his hands, including the first elder of the Origin Soul sect, Nether Saint. If you could kill him you wouldn't be here. Li Mu smiled embarrassedly and asked, what enmity does this person have with Lord Huanji? Why does Lord Huanji hate him so much? Hu Jio glanced at him and said, don't ask about Lord Huanji. Li Mu immediately became serious and said, I know. Hu Jio added, however, if this person happens to fall into your hands in the future, don't kill him. Bring him back and hand him over to Lord Huanji. You will receive countless benefits and even have the chance to comprehend the Heavenly Book. Although that Heavenly Book belongs to the Fox Clan, other clans can also benefit from it. Li Mu shook his head and said, forget it. Even such a strong person is not his match. Wouldn't I be courting death if I go? Hu Jio slapped his head and said angrily, you are a snake demon. How can you be more cowardly than a rat demon? You are a disgrace to the Snake Clan. Li Mu laughed and said, there is nothing wrong with being careful. Only by being careful can we live longer. Hu Jio nodded and said, that's right. That Li Mu is not only strong but also very handsome. Even a strong person like the Empress of the Great Zhou is infatuated with him. It is said that he often goes in and out of the palace and sleeps in the Empress' bedroom. Li Mu said in surprise, you know this too? Hu Jio smiled and said, the spies of the Meizong sect are all over the world. You will know in the future. Li Mu's eyes shone with admiration and said, the Meizong sect is too powerful. Hu Jiu breathed a sigh of relief and said, that Li Mu is the powerful one. He did what Cui Ming couldn't do in 20 years in 2 years. It is said that in the imperial court, he is in charge of the imperial court alone. If we pull Li Mu into the Meizong sect, every move of the Zhou kingdom will be under our control. We can even control the great Zhou through this person. Li Mu laughed dryly and said, good plan. Hu Jiu continued, however, that Li Mu is a very upright person. I'm afraid it won't be easy to win him over. However, we can take advantage of his lecherous characteristics and think of a way to let the women of the Meizong sect seduce him. Li Mu was stunned for a moment and said, lecherous. Hu Jiu nodded and said, according to our spies in Luoyang, every time Li Mu goes out, there must be beauties by his side. His wife is an outstanding beauty, and the 2 concubines by his side are also first-class beauties. One of them is the most beautiful woman in our fox tribe. Not to mention there is also the Empress of the Great Zhou. Rumor has it that this person will have 10 women every night and won't get up until late in the morning. Li Mu said angrily, slander, this is pure slander. Hu Jiu looked at him strangely and asked, why are you so agitated? Li Mu said angrily, which spy provided this false information? If Li Mu really followed the Empress of the Great Zhou, how could the Empress allow him to have an affair with other women? This information is obviously false. That spy is too irresponsible. If he acted rashly based on this false information, wouldn't he be letting our sisters of the Meizong sect walk into a trap? After thinking deeply, Hu Jiu said, what you said makes sense. That Li Mu seducing the Empress of the Great Zhou may be false, but it must be true that he is easily fascinated by women. Is it possible to win him over through the woman beside him? Chapter 438. Li Mu returned to his room unhappily. He didn't expect his reputation to be ruined by the spies of the Meizong sect. What surprised him even more was that the spies of the Meizong sect could find out so many secrets. Xiaobai didn't have any demonic aura on her body. How did they know that she was a fox? The palace gates were closed at night. Li Mu, Wanwan, and Xiaobai lived in the palace. Only a few palace maids near Chengel Palace knew that there were people from the Meizong sect among them. Li Mu didn't rush to inform the Empress. He just came to Thousand Fox City last night. Perhaps the powerhouses of the Meizong sect didn't have time to notice him, but it might not be the case today. Although he joined the Meizong sect because they invited him, the Meizong sect was too trusting of him. They seemed to trust him, but they might have secretly begun to monitor his every move. The jade talisman that the Empress gave him and the fulu that Li Mu drew to shield himself from the mysteries of heaven had been put away by him long ago. These things could be used to shield the mysteries of heaven to prevent others from prying. Using them here meant that he didn't want to expose himself fast enough. Even powerhouses above the 6th realm couldn't spy on a small snake demon in human form. Wasn't that just giving away 300 taels of silver? After returning to his room, Li Mu did not do anything superfluous. He sat cross-legged on his bed, took out a piece of spirit jade, held it in his hand, and began to draw qi to cultivate. He sat there until night fell. Just after midnight, the spiritual jade in Li Mu's hand turned into powder. With the strength of a transformed demon, it would take about this long to absorb a spiritual jade. After that, he got out of bed and stretched for a while. He drank a glass of water and then went to bed again. On the highest mountain in Thousand Fox City. In a cave on the mountain, a man who looked similar to Huanji waved his hand and dispersed the dark light technique. He said, this demon should be fine. Huanji nodded and said, then I'll use it without worry. The man said, his appearance can be considered outstanding, but it's a pity that he's a demon. It would be great if he was a human. If we need him in the future, we'll have to wash his demon body. How troublesome, they're my people. Don't tell them what to do. Phantom Princess frowned and said, what about those heretical cultivators? A trace of killing intent appeared in the man's eyes as he said, kill them. How many of our compatriots have died at their hands because they have been humiliated? One day I will kill all of these damn humans. The next morning, Li Mu learned from Hu Jiu that the 5 human heretical cultivation practitioners had been publicly executed in the Thousand Fox Nation. Human beings hated heretical cultivation, and demons hated heretical cultivation even more than human beings did. Due to the prestige of the Great Zhou court, heretical cultivation was still somewhat afraid of taking the lives of the people of Great Zhou. They were afraid of alarming the Department of Worship, so they didn't dare to wantonly cause harm. But they didn't have to worry about demons. The Great Zhou court wouldn't protect the demons, and the demon nation was a mass of scattered sand. There was nothing to be afraid of. Therefore, a large number of heretical cultivation practitioners hunted and killed demons everywhere. They extracted the souls of low-level demons, seized the inner cores of mid-level demons, and transformed into good-looking demons. Regardless of gender, they were sold to the black market to provide for certain customers with special requirements to visit prostitutes. This had even formed a huge black industry chain. Countless demons suffered from it and hated this kind of heretical cultivation. Especially the Fox clan, because after transforming, the males were handsome and the females were beautiful. They were the focus of heretical cultivation. Although the major righteous sects restrained their disciples from doing such inhumane things, they were the same as the court and wouldn't stand up for the demons. When they returned home, Wuxia looked seriously at Li Mu and said, "Little snake, you have to remember to stay away from humans. Don't be deceived by their flowery words. Some people like a tender and handsome little demon like you the most." Li Mu shivered and said, "I will be careful." "Thank you, Brother Wuxia." Wuxia patted his shoulder and said, "We're all on the same side. Don't be so polite. By the way, you just entered the Meizong sect and are still too weak to go out with us to carry out missions. Tonight, you will be on guard duty in front of Miss Illusion Princess's courtyard. When dawn comes, someone will come to replace you." Li Mu nodded and said, "I know." It was late at night and the moonlight was bright. Li Mu stood at the door of Illusion Princess's courtyard with his sword in his hands. He was the second-generation disciple of the Fulu school, the future headmaster, the controller of the Department of Consecration in the Great Zhou, the deputy commander of the internal guards, and the close minister of the Empress. Yet he was guarding the door of a fox demon. Li Mu didn't plan to be like the spies of the Meizong sect and completely forget their identities. He had hidden for 20 years and climbed up step by step without leaving any traces. He felt that 2 months was too long. But now he could only guard the door here. If this went on, when could he reach the top of the Meizong sect, comprehend the heavenly book of the Fox clan and steal the secrets of the Meizong sect? Now he was still a little demon at the bottom of the Meizong sect. Illusion Princess wouldn't even look at him. He had to do something to show his value and attract Illusion Princess's attention. Then he could take the opportunity to climb up. In the courtyard, Illusion Princess slashed the stone statue beside the rockery a few times and then walked back to her room. She sat cross-legged on the bed and stretched out her hand. An ancient book page floated above her palm. She calmed her mind and focused. Soon her consciousness was immersed in it. Outside the courtyard, Li Mu, who was racking his brains to think of a way to climb up, suddenly raised his eyebrows. He sensed an extremely familiar aura from the courtyard behind him. This was the aura of the heavenly book. The heavenly book of the Lord of Illusions was in the hands of Illusion Princess. At this moment, Li Mu suddenly had a strong impulse to rush in and subdue Illusion Princess, snatch the heavenly book and run. But soon he dispelled this idea. Illusion Princess wasn't easy to deal with. He couldn't subdue Illusion Princess in a short time. If thousands of Fox clan experts arrived, it would be difficult for him to leave. Even if he had the Demon Emperor's cave, if the space was sealed, he would be trapped here and die. After thinking for a long time, Li Mu took a breath and resisted the temptation. In the room, Illusion Princess comprehended the heavenly book for the whole night. Outside the courtyard, Li Mu also endured for the whole night. In the past few hours, he had countless thoughts of seizing the heavenly book, but he suppressed it countless times. When the sky was bright, Wuxia came over with another little demon and said, "Little snake, you can go back and rest now." Li Mu was about to go back to his room, but when he saw Wuxia and the other two preparing to go out, he asked, "Brother Wuxia, what are you going to do?" Wuxia said, "Before those heretical cultivators died, the great elders searched their souls and learned of their nest. Several of our clansmen were captured there. We are going to save them." There was no future in guarding the door. Li Mu was worried that he wouldn't have a chance to show off, so he immediately said, "Brother Wuxia, I'll go too." A person behind Wuxia glanced at Li Mu and said, "Your strength is so low. What can you do? Not only can you not help, but you will also cause trouble." Li Mu said, "My parents died in the hands of these heretical cultivators. I hate heretical cultivation the most. If I follow you, maybe I can meet the murderer who killed my parents. My biggest dream is to avenge my parents with my own hands one day." After hearing Li Mu's justifiable reason, they didn't say anything else. Wuxia thought for a moment and nodded. "The task this time is not dangerous. You can come if you want. It won't do you any harm to go through more hardships. Walking on the edge of life and death is good for improving your cultivation." Li Mu made a fist salute and said, Thank you, Brother Hujio. I will try my best. Half a month's time quietly passed. It only took half a month for the little snake demon who had joined Meizong's sect not long ago to become familiar with him and then to trust him. Although he didn't make much contribution to Meizong's sect, compared with those guys who wanted to escape first when they encountered a task, this timid snake demon took the initiative to follow them every time. He completed many tasks with them and saved many of his compatriots of the demon clan who had fallen into the hands of heretical cultivation. Although he wasn't strong, his spiritual sense was naturally sharp. He reminded them many times in advance and saved them a lot of trouble. He also won the trust of the demons because of this. In the process of carrying out tasks, they would take the initiative to take care of him. They had already regarded him as one of their own. In Phantom Princess Mansion, Li Mu opened the door and saw Hujio standing outside. He asked, "Brother Hujio, is there another task?" Hujio shook her head and said, "You told me not long ago to be careful. During this period of time, you took risks and carried out tasks more diligently than anyone else." Li Mu's face was solemn as he said, "I'm just a little demon. I don't know when I'll be captured by humans and forced to sleep with old women. It's Lord Huanji who gave me everything I have now. I want to repay Lord Huanji." Hujio looked satisfied and said, "Very good. Lord Phantom Princess didn't misjudge you." He took out a jade bottle and handed it to Li Mu. He said, "Lord Phantom Princess gave this to you." Li Mu took the jade bottle and asked, "What is this?" Hujio said, "This is the demon core of a snake demon who just stepped into the 5th realm. We took it back from a human heretical cultivation. Lord Phantom Princess has seen your recent performance. This is her reward for you. After refining this demon core, you should be able to advance to the 4th realm." Li Mu's face revealed an excited expression as he hurriedly said, "Many thanks, Lord Huanji." Hujio patted his shoulder and said, "Work hard. If you can successfully advance, I will propose to Lord Phantom Princess to let you become her personal guard." Li Mu held the jade bottle and said firmly, "Don't worry, Brother Hujio. I will work hard." Looking at Hujio's back, Li Mu closed the door and let out a sigh of relief. During this period of time, with his positive performance, he finally attracted some of Phantom Princess's attention. But it was far from enough to get close to the Heavenly Book. His next goal was to become her personal guard and gain her complete trust. 3 days later. Beside the fake mountain, Phantom Princess was practicing with the stone statue. She suddenly turned her head and looked in a certain direction. A 4th realm demon energy rushed into the sky. Behind her, Hujio smiled and said, "Lord Phantom Princess, he broke through. Do you want to promote him to your personal guard?" Phantom Princess looked away and said, "Let's wait and see." Chapter 439. In the room, Li Mu retracted the demonic aura that he deliberately emitted. He kept the snake demon pill that Phantom Princess gave him. He planned to give it to his 2 nieces in the future. As long as he converted more of his own Dharma power, he could create the illusion that he had broken through. Not long after, Hujio walked into the courtyard and said regretfully, "Although you can't become Lord Illusion Princess personal guard right now, I believe that Lord Illusion Princess will agree soon." Li Mu was slightly disappointed. What Hujio meant was that he was not qualified to become Phantom Princess's guard now. Phantom Princess had 20 guards who were her true confidants. If he wanted to get close to her and get the chance to comprehend the Heavenly Book, he had to become her confidant first. There was no faster way to get close to her than to become her guard. He was already qualified to become her guard as he was at the 4th realm. However, Phantom Princess obviously did not agree. If he wanted to get close to her, Li Mu had to work harder. Hujio seemed to see Li Mu's disappointment. She reached out and gave him a bear hug. She said, "Don't be discouraged. You've only been in Meizong for half a month. Work hard. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future." Li Mu said, "Thank you, Brother Hujio. I will." Although they were on different sides, after half a month of interaction, Li Mu, as a snake demon, had already built a deep friendship with the people around Phantom Princess. One had to admit that the atmosphere in Meizong was very good. It was even better than the imperial court. When Li Mu was in Fairy's capital, the people around him greeted him with smiles on the surface. However, they were scheming and backstabbing behind his back. They wanted to kill him. However, in Meizong, perhaps because everyone was good-looking, the atmosphere was very harmonious. They supported and helped each other. When facing enemies, they cooperated sincerely. They could even leave their backs to each other. Especially Hujio. From the beginning, she took good care of Li Mu. She brought him quickly to familiarize himself with everything here. She was his guide in Maison. They met by chance. Li Mu was surprised that Hu Jio was so nice to him. After they hugged each other deeply, Hu Jio comforted Li Mu with a few more words before she turned around and left. Li Mu was about to return to his room when he saw a small demon looking at him strangely from the door of another room. This demon was also a fox demon, but she was not from Maison. Instead, she was a servant of Phantom Princess Manor. There were a total of 4 rooms in this small courtyard. Other than Li Mu, the other 3 demons were all servants of the manor. Li Mu glanced at the little demon and asked, "What are you looking at?" The little demon immediately shook his head and said, "No, nothing." The little demon wanted to return to his room immediately, but Li Mu said in a deep voice, "Come back." Little demon immediately stopped in his tracks. He was just a little demon in human form. His identity could not be compared to the experts of Maison. Li Mu looked at him and asked, "What did you want to say?" The little demon no longer dared to feign ignorance. He lowered his head and whispered, "Everyone knows that Lord Nine doesn't like women." Li Mu was dumbfounded. What? At this moment, the mystery that had been in his heart for many days was solved. No wonder Hu Jio repeatedly praised him for his good looks. No wonder Hu Jio took care of him so much. He thought that Hu Jio was just warm-hearted and helpful. Everyone knew that Hu Jio didn't like women, but he didn't. After learning this news, he thought carefully. It seemed that Hu Jio's words to him these days were full of hints. Li Mu stood there in a daze. He had never been so speechless in his life. After coming to his senses, he didn't dare to stay in the manor anymore. When he walked out of Phantom Princess Manor, he didn't expect to run into Hu Jio. Hu Jio asked, "Little snake, where are you going?" Li Mu had nowhere to hide. He said awkwardly, "I'm going to take a bath." Hu Jio said regretfully, "It's a pity that we have to go out. Otherwise I would go with you." Li Mu asked, "Is there another mission?" Hu Jio said, "This mission is very dangerous. You don't have to go. When I come back, I'll take you to take a bath together." Li Mu originally wanted to participate in more missions and make more contributions so that he could become Phantom Princess's guard as soon as possible. But when he thought of Hu Jio and that he had more important things to do, he gave up the idea and said, "We'll talk about it when we have the chance." He waved to Hu Jio and strode away. The Fox clan was probably the demon clan that knew how to enjoy life the most. Their IQ was not inferior to that of humans, and they liked to live in human society. The construction of Thousand Fox City was not worse than that of any county in the Great Zhou, and the entertainment venues in the city were even better. At least, Li Mu had never seen such a magnificent bathhouse in Luoyang. Li Mu walked into the bathhouse. In the bathhouse, a beautiful fox demon saw Li Mu's clothes and the badge on his waist. She immediately put on a smile and said, "My lord, welcome to my shop." Li Mu put down a Fox Nation coin made of spiritual jade and said, "Prepare a single room for me." The beautiful fox demon said with a smile, "Do you want 2 girls to massage your shoulders and back?" Li Mu said indifferently, "There's no need for that. Just prepare a private bath." The service in the bathhouse was very good. Seeing that Li Mu didn't want to talk, the beautiful fox demon didn't say anything more. Soon, she asked someone to prepare a single room with a bath for him. The room was steaming hot. The hot water was poured on the hot stones, creating a thick mist that soon spread throughout the room. Although it had been half a month since he came here, Li Mu still didn't let down his guard. He didn't know if the masters of Maison sect were still spying on him. Even if they were, they wouldn't peek at him taking a bath. Besides, it was steaming here. The mystic light technique could spy on him, but it couldn't remove the fog. Even if someone was spying on him, they wouldn't see anything. Li Mu took off his clothes and walked into the bath. On the highest peak of Thousand Fox City, the handsome man looked at a blurry figure on the screen with admiration. He said, "I didn't expect this demon to have other strong points other than being handsome. Nurture him well. He'll be useful in the future." Huan Ji hurriedly turned around and used her mana to disrupt the mystic light technique. She said with disdain, "When did you become like Hu Jio?" The handsome man looked at her and said, "You're not young anymore. It's time to think about marriage." "I think Bai Xian is good." Huan Ji waved her hand and said impatiently, "Don't mention him to me. It's so annoying. He's not even as good as me. How can he be my husband?" The handsome man said helplessly, "You're a rare genius of our fox tribe. Isn't it difficult for people of the same age to reach your level?" Huan Ji snorted and said, "This isn't an excuse for them to be weak." At this moment, a figure appeared in her mind. Before meeting Li Mu, Huan Ji thought she was the strongest among people of the same age except for the one in the Great Zhou Divine Capital. After meeting Li Mu, her self-confidence suffered a huge blow. These days she worked even harder to cultivate so that one day, she could avenge the humiliation she had suffered. Thinking of Li Mu, Huanji's heart was filled with anger. She said, "I'll go back first. Alright, that statue. Get someone to carve another one for me and send it to my residence." Li Mu was lying comfortably in the bath alone, but he wasn't in the mood to enjoy it. The undercover life of the Meizong sect was much harder than he thought. It had been half a month and he still hadn't gained Huanji's trust. The only change was that Huanji didn't look at him directly. She would occasionally look at him directly. If this continued, he would have to stay here for 3 to 5 years to achieve his goal. This was something Li Mu couldn't accept. He had to think of another way. Li Mu didn't have much experience in winning a woman's trust. Usually, the simplest way was, of course, seduction. However, there was no lack of handsome men and beautiful women in Thousand Fox Country. Even Hu Jiao was handsome. Someone like old Zhang would be discovered as soon as he sneaked into Thousand Fox Country. There was no chance for him to be an undercover in the Meizong sect. With such people around him, Huanji couldn't be seduced. Li Mu wouldn't sacrifice his body for the mission. If he wanted to quickly climb up the ranks, he had to rely on other methods. When the fog in the room rose to a limit, Li Mu quietly set up a soundproof array. He took out the spirit snail and whispered, "Your Majesty." Soon the Empress's voice came from the spirit snail. "Are you coming back?" Li Mu could hear the anticipation in her voice, but he could only say helplessly, "It might take a long time. I don't have much time, so I can only make it short. There are spies from the Meizong sect in the palace. It's very likely that they're palace maids near Chang'e Palace. Your Majesty can pay more attention, but it's best not to alert them." "I understand. Be careful when you're there alone. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. It's not convenient to talk here. I'll hang up first." In Chang'e Palace, there had been no sound from the spirit snail for a long time. Zhou was still holding it and didn't put it down for a long time. Lady Ju, dressed in black, stood in the hall with a face full of shame. If only one of her spies was half as capable as Li Mu. Such an extremely dangerous task wouldn't be done by Her Majesty's favorite subject. Yao Country, Thousand Fox City. When Li Mu left the bathhouse and returned to his courtyard in Huanji Manor, he saw a figure standing in the courtyard. It seemed that she had been waiting for a long time. Li Mu quickly walked over and bowed. "Greetings, Lady Huanji." Huanji looked at him and thought of the scene in the mystic light technique. Her expression was slightly unnatural, but she quickly calmed down and asked, "Where did you go?" Li Mu said honestly, "I went to the bathhouse to take a bath." "Lady Huanji, do you have any orders?" Huanji said indifferently, "It's not a big deal. I'm still lacking a poison for refining pills. Squeeze some of your poison for me." Chapter 440. Seeing that Li Mu didn't respond for a long time, Phantom Princess asked, "What's wrong? You don't want to?" Li Mu hurriedly said, "Master Phantom Princess, you misunderstood me. I owe you a great favor. I can give you everything but..." Phantom Princess asked, "But what?" Li Mu explained, "But not all snakes are poisonous. I happen to be the kind that is not poisonous. I can't squeeze out any venom." "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Phantom Princess glanced at him and left in disappointment. Li Mu breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. He was pretending. Even if Phantom Princess squeezed him dry, she couldn't squeeze out a drop of venom. The life of a spy was indeed full of danger. If he was careless, he would be exposed. In the past night, Li Mu didn't sleep well. He wasn't worried about being exposed, but he was thinking about how to tell Hu Jiao tactfully that he always liked women with big breasts and big butts. No matter how beautiful a man was, he wouldn't change his preference. It would be offensive and strange if he said it directly, but he was afraid that Hu Jiao wouldn't understand if he said it tactfully. Should he invite her to the brothel in the city? Some female monsters in the city didn't mind selling their bodies in order to get cultivation resources because they didn't have high cultivation talent. They were willing to do it, and it was legal in the Thousand Fox Country. If he invited Hu Jiao to such a place, she should understand what he meant. No, he was still pretending to be an innocent Xiaobai snake. His purpose was to get close to Phantom Princess. Doing this kind of thing might reduce his impression in Phantom Princess's mind. It was completely ignoring the essentials. After thinking for a whole night, Li Mu decided to remind her secretly. After Li Mu got out of bed, he had just finished washing up when the dull sound of a bell suddenly came from outside. It was the signal for the Meizong sect to gather everyone. Li Mu quickly walked out of the yard and came to the front yard. More than 10 figures had gathered in the yard. All of them looked gloomy. Li Mu didn't know what had happened. When he was about to ask Hujio, he glanced around the crowd and didn't see Hujio. The demons that followed Hujio on the mission yesterday had already returned, but Hujio was nowhere to be seen. Limu looked at a demon who went on a mission with Hujio yesterday and asked, "Where is brother Hujio?" The fox monster lowered her head and said sadly, "We fell into the heretical cultivations trap. Brother Hujio stayed behind to cover our escape." Then, the fox demon did not continue, but someone else had already recounted the entire sequence of events. Meizong had obtained a lot of information about heretical cultivation by searching their souls after capturing the 5 heretical cultivation practitioners. With the intelligence, they had destroyed several nests of heretical cultivation and rescued dozens of their compatriots of the demon race in half a month. However, they were noticed by the heretical cultivation organizations too. This time, the heretical cultivation organization had deliberately released false information to lure them into the trap and then set up an ambush early on. If the demons had not smelled the danger in advance, perhaps none of them would have made it back this time. Even so, Hujio had sacrificed her life to create a chance for them to escape. Phantom Princess walked out from the backyard and said in a low voice, "Follow me." A fox monster stood out and said to Phantom Princess, "Lord Phantom Princess, this matter needs to be considered at length. The 5 heretical cultivation practitioners are all in the 5th realm. They are siblings from the same mother. When they work together, they can fight against 6th realm cultivators. If we go, we will only be courting death. Lord Phantom Princess, please reconsider. We can't let Master Hujio's sacrifice be in vain. We will take revenge sooner or later, but not now." Hearing everyone's advice, Phantom Princess took a deep breath and turned into a stream of light, flying to the highest mountain in Thousand Fox Country. Not long after, at the peak, the handsome man shook his head at Phantom Princess and said, "Father is in seclusion. I have to guard this place and can't leave. Moreover, you know the rules of the demon country. No matter what grudges the people below have, no matter how big the trouble is, cultivators in the 6th realm and above can't interfere. Once we break this rule, others can break it too. When that happens, this place will become chaotic again. More 5th realm and even 6th realm cultivators will die." Phantom Princess did not force it. She gritted her teeth and said, "Then I will go myself." The handsome man shook his head and said, "You can't go. You are not their match." Phantom Princess said, "I want to take revenge for Hujio." With that, she flew into the air and left. However, just as she flew into the air, her body stopped in the air and she could not take another step forward. Phantom Princess said angrily, "Let me go." The handsome man shook his head and said, "I can't let you go. If anything happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to Father." He waved his hand and Phantom Princess flew into the cave. The handsome man casually set up a formation and said, "Calm down inside first. When the time is right, I will let you take revenge for Hujio." "Let me out. Huan Yun, you bastard, let me out. Let me out. I curse you that you will never be able to marry a wife." Phantom Princess cursed loudly in the cave. The handsome man just shook his head helplessly and flew away. The news of Lady Hujio's death at the hands of the heretical cultivation quickly spread throughout Thousand Fox City. The demon citizens in the city were all filled with righteous indignation. Some of them were rescued by Hujio from the heretical cultivation. However, the news that came later made them even angrier. The heretical cultivation actually hung Lady Hujio's corpse on the mountain gate and let it be exposed to the sun by the feng shui. This was a naked insult. For a moment, the citizens of Thousand Fox Country were furious. They wanted nothing more than to flatten the heretical cultivation, but Meizong did not do anything. Those evil cultivators were too powerful. If the first elder didn't show up, even if they went, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. In the cave on the highest peak of Thousand Fox Country, Phantom Princess gritted her teeth. "I must kill them." At the entrance of the cave, a fox demon was telling her about the situation in Thousand Fox Country in the past 2 days. Then he remembered something and said, "There is one more thing that I don't dare to guess. I don't know if I should tell Lady Phantom Princess." Phantom Princess took a deep breath and said, "Speak." The fox demon said, "The snake demon we brought back last time has disappeared for 2 days. He should have left Thousand Fox City. He didn't tell anyone about this. Maybe he was afraid of death and ran away," Phantom Princess said coldly. "If he wants to leave, then leave. Meizong doesn't matter with him. The next time we meet, we will be enemies." The fox demon said indignantly, "This demon doesn't know how to repay kindness at all. If it wasn't for Lady Phantom Princess, he would still be a demon in human form. He might not be able to condense a demon core in this lifetime. Phantom Princess shook her head and said, don't mention him again. Think of a way to bring Hujio's corpse back. There was a look of humiliation in the fox demon's eyes, but he still sighed and said, this is obviously bait. They insulted Hujio's body to lure us there. There must be a trap set up there and they are waiting for us to come to them. The experts of the clan were killed and their corpses were exposed. These days Thousand Fox Country was extremely depressed. It had been a long time since the people from Meizong sect showed a smile. Hujio was killed and there was a traitor in the sect. The snake demon had joined Meizong for less than a month and escaped from Thousand Fox Country. This was the shame of Meizong in recent years. I knew it. That snake demon is extremely cowardly. Who forced him to join the sect? It's Hujio. Hujio is silly. I know he took a fancy to the snake demon's beauty, but Meizong recruits not only based on beauty, but also character and temperament. A while ago he was still pretending to be fearless. Now he has shown his true colors, right? At the city gate of Thousand Fox City, the two experts of Meizong who guarded the city gate were still angry when they talked about the snake demon. At this moment, a figure slowly walked in from outside the city gate. It was a figure that was not tall. His clothes were tattered and his body was covered in blood. He limped from afar. Who is it? This is Thousand Fox Country. Stop. The two experts of Meizong flew forward, but in the next moment their expressions changed. At the city gate the person was carrying something on his back. He wrapped a vine around his waist and connected it tightly to the thing on his back. The two quickly saw the thing on his back. It was a corpse. When they saw the face of the corpse, the two exclaimed again. It's Hujio. Hujio's corpse. The figure walked over step by step. When he reached the city gate he slowly raised his head. Under the blood, a handsome and delicate face was revealed. He smiled at the two and said in a hoarse voice, I brought back Brother Hujio's corpse. After saying that he fell down. The two hurried forward to support him, their faces full of shock. It's him. He didn't escape. He actually brought back Hujio's corpse. How did he do it? The two hurried back to the city with a man and a corpse. Not long after, a piece of news from Meizong made the entire Thousand Fox Country boil. Master Hujio's corpse was brought back, and the person who brought it back was the little demon of Meizong who had defected for half a month. Soon, everyone understood that he did not defect. Everyone in Thousand Fox Country wanted to bring back Hujio's corpse, but no one took action because they knew that it was a trap that would kill whoever went. During these days they could only condemn and condemn. However, there was a demon who left Thousand Fox Country alone without saying anything. Half a month later, when he returned again, he had already brought back Hujio's corpse and the dignity of Meizong and Thousand Fox Country. Although they did not know what happened in the past half a month, it was said that when the little demon carried Hujio's corpse back to Thousand Fox City, there were nearly 100 wounds of various sizes on his body. He was like a lamp that had run out of oil, and his life was hanging by a thread. If Lady Phantom Princess had not saved him with precious spirit pills, he would probably be dead now. That little snake demon caused a lot of discussion in the city. I want to apologize to him. A few days ago I scolded him for defecting. What a good man. He's a true hero, a hero worthy of everyone's admiration. That lord even took a bath in our bathhouse. He looks handsome and charming, but I didn't expect him to be so courageous. In Phantom Princess Manor, countless figures stood in the courtyard. Many of their faces were still filled with disbelief. Unbelievable. Even the Grand Elder might not be able to escape unscathed from that place. How did a fourth realm little demon do it? I've never seen such serious injuries. What did he go through? He's still alive. What's supporting him? Everyone could not understand how a weak little demon could do such a big thing that even a sixth realm powerhouse would not be able to do easily. What happened in between? In the room, Limu opened his eyes and looked at the figure standing in front of the bed. He struggled to get up and said, Greetings, Lady Phantom Princess? Phantom Princess pressed his shoulder and pressed him back on the bed. She said, You're seriously injured and need to rest. There's no need to salute. Then she looked at Limu's face and asked, How did you do it? Limu's eyes were filled with sadness. He said, Here Brother Hujio was the person who treated me the best. I couldn't watch his body be humiliated after he died. So, I used the snake race's concealment technique and hid in front of the heretical cultivation for half a month before the 5 heretical cultivation powerhouses left. Phantom Princess shook her head and said, Even so, you couldn't have gotten Hujio's body? Limu said, I knew that there must be an ambush around Big Brother Hujio's body. If I fought head-on, I would be courting death, so I could only use my wits. Therefore, an hour after the 5 evil cultivators left, I changed into one of their appearances and tricked their subordinates into putting down Big Brother Hujio's body. Unfortunately, I was still discovered in the end. It wasn't easy for me to kill my way out. Fortunately, after the 5 evil cultivators left, there were no more 5th realm cultivators. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to see Lord Phantom Princess. Phantom Princess blurted out, "That's impossible. The transformation technique requires at least a 6th realm cultivation. Even I don't know it. You can't have the fulu and pills to disguise yourself." Li Mu looked at her and said gratefully, "I have to thank Lady Phantom Princess. It was you who helped me reach the 4th realm. At the same time, I awakened a talent. Snakes don't have the ability to transform unless..." Phantom Princess looked at Li Mu with confusion. She quickly thought of something and said, "You have the bloodline of the lizard race?" Li Mu nodded and said, "My grandmother is from the lizard race." The lizard race was known as the 4-legged snake. The snake race and the lizard race often intermarried. Phantom Princess was no longer confused and said, "You shouldn't have acted on your own." Li Mu shook his head and said, "Even you were imprisoned. If I said that I was going to bring back Brother Hujio's body, I definitely wouldn't have been allowed." Phantom Princess asked, "Are you willing to give up your life for Brother Hujio's body?" Li Mu smiled and said, "My father told me that there are things that I shouldn't do in my life. I can't let Brother Hujio be humiliated because I'm afraid of death. Otherwise, even if I'm alive, I'll feel guilty. I didn't expect Little Snake to be so loyal." A shadow floated in from the outside and looked at Li Mu emotionally. She said, "I didn't love you for nothing. You're willing to die for my body. Are you also tempted by me?" Li Mu looked at the spirit that looked exactly like Hujio and his expression became sluggish. Phantom Princess explained, "Even though Hujio lost her body, her demon soul still managed to escape in the end." Hujio sighed and said with pity, "It's a pity that I didn't listen to Lord Phantom Princess's words. If I also cultivated a Tao technique and formed a primordial spirit, I could find a new body and be reborn. I wouldn't have turned into a ghost like this." She looked at Li Mu and asked, "Little Snake, you won't stop loving me because I've become a ghost, right?" Li Mu laid on the bed and struggled to raise his hand. He gave Hujio the middle finger and said, "Love your mother." After that, he fainted again. Hujio was about to go forward when Phantom Princess waved her hand and said, "He almost died. Let him rest. He'll be of great use to me in the future. You can't have any ideas about him." Hujio's face was filled with resentment. She sighed and said, "I understand." After the human and ghost left, the door closed automatically. On the bed, Li Mu opened his eyes again. He exhaled softly and a smile appeared on his face. After spending a lot of time together, even if it was a dog, he would have some feelings for it. Putting aside the standpoint of race, these demons were actually more worthy of deep friendship than humans. He was very happy that Hujio's demon soul was still there. This time he took back Hujio's body. Although it was also to gain Phantom Princess's trust, it was more because of their friendship. This kind of ending could be said to be a happy ending. What he said to Phantom Princess was all true. Although Li Mu had the strength to break into the heretical cultivation sect and take Hujio's body, after that he couldn't explain the process to Phantom Princess and the people of Meizong's sect. Therefore he could only use a trick. He really hid near the heretical cultivation organization's nest for half a month, patiently waiting for the leader of the heretical cultivation to leave. He also really changed into the appearance of one of them to deceive their subordinates. But the flaw was deliberately exposed by Li Mu. If he easily carried Hujio's body back, it would be too fake. It would be strange if Phantom Princess didn't suspect him. On the other hand, if he managed to snatch back the corpses of his compatriots, those who doubted him would feel ashamed. Li Mu didn't believe that Phantom Princess wouldn't let him be her personal guard after he risked his life so much. If he couldn't be promoted this time, Li Mu really couldn't do this job. The elixir that Phantom Princess gave him must be of heaven grade. He quietly rested in the room for 3 days. His injuries were almost healed. Not even a scar could be seen on his body. During these 3 days he had cute little fox demons serving him. These little fox demons that had just transformed looked at him with stars in their eyes. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, a little fox demon walked in and looked at Li Mu with admiration. She said softly, "Sir, Lord Phantom Princess invites you over." Li Mu got out of bed for the first time in 3 days and came to Phantom Princess's courtyard. In the courtyard, Phantom Princess sized up Li Mu and asked, "How's your recovery?" Li Mu cupped his fists and said, "It's almost done. Thank you for the elixir." Phantom Princess nodded and said, "Although you carried Hu Jiao's body back and made a great contribution, there are still many people in the sect who don't believe you can do it. So, I need you to show me your abilities. As long as you can prove that what you said is true, I won't let anyone who dares to criticize you go easily." Li Mu had already expected this and was not afraid. He used his sleeve to cover his face. After a moment, when he moved his sleeve away, he had already turned into Hu Jiao. Phantom Princess revealed a strange expression and said, "In a certain demon race, there is only 1 in 10,000 people who can awaken this level of innate ability. You are the first one I have seen." Actually, the innate abilities of the various demon races were not that hard to awaken. It was just that they did not know the method. If they knew the method, humans could also use demon techniques, but it was not as easy as the demon race. Li Mu changed back and looked at Phantom Princess and asked, "Lord Phantom Princess, is it done?" Phantom Princess nodded and said, "You can go back." Li Mu let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to leave, Phantom Princess suddenly thought of something and said, "Wait." Li Mu turned his head and asked, "Lord Phantom Princess, is there anything else?" Phantom Princess thought for a moment and pointed at the statue that was filled with sword marks beside the fake mountain and said, "Change into him for me to see." Li Mu looked at the statue and swallowed his saliva. He said softly, "Lord Phantom Princess, I have never seen him before. I'm afraid I can't change." Phantom Princess crossed her arms and said, "No problem, you can change." Li Mu probed, "Then I will try?" Phantom Princess nodded and said, "Let's begin." Li Mu covered his face with his sleeve again. After a moment, he slowly moved his sleeve away. Phantom Princess walked over step by step and examined him for a long time. Finally, she stretched out her hand and patted his face. She pulled it and revealed a meaningful smile and said, "Good, very good." Li Mu's face was pale and filled with fear. He said with a trembling voice, Lord Phantom Princess, don't be like this." Phantom Princess looked at this familiar face and a certain image appeared in her mind. She couldn't help but curl up her lips and reveal a smile that could charm all living things. She said, "From now on, you can follow me." This means that Li Mu is already her personal guard and also her personal guard. Li Mu has taken a big step towards his final goal. He revealed a happy expression and said, "Thank you, Lord Phantom Princess." Phantom Princess thought for a moment and said, "I'll change your name. I'll call you that from now on." Li Mu bowed and said, "This subordinate will follow Lord Phantom Princess's arrangement." Phantom Princess pinched his face again and said, "Remember, from now on, you will be called Li Mu." Chapter 441. Li Mu would have thought that he had been discovered if Phantom Princess did not summon the elites of Meizong sect. Li Mu asked anxiously, "Lord Phantom Princess, can I leave now?" Phantom Princess looked at him and said, "You don't have to go back. From now on you will stay in the courtyard next to mine. I will summon you if I need anything." Li Mu was delighted. He did not know if he was closer to her psychologically, but at least he was closer physically. He was one big step closer to his final goal. He left Phantom Princess's place and went back to his room to pack his things. He met a few people from Meizong sect along the way. They all stopped and clenched their right fist and hit their left shoulder. This was a gesture of respect from Meizong sect. Li Mu had won their respect after hiding near the heretical cultivation organization for half a month and taking back the body of his fellow sect member. At this moment, there was a storm in a heretical cultivation organization. "Trash, you can't even protect a body with dozens of people?" Someone swaggered in, took away the demonic corpse and killed more than 10 people. "What were you doing at that time? You trash, how dare you face me?" An elder looked down furiously. Dozens of people knelt on the ground and did not dare to raise their heads. "Master, it's not that we're incompetent, it's just that the thief is too cunning. As soon as you left, he pretended to be you and tricked the corpse away. Although we realized that something was wrong later, that thief is extremely good at hiding. We couldn't find him at all when he snuck into the forest. We split up to search, but he defeated us one by one and killed a few of us. Moreover, this person is not afraid of death, as if he doesn't care about his own life, exchanging injury for injury, exchanging life for life. He's very difficult to deal with. Cut the crap." An old man waved his hand and said, "This is a great humiliation, truly a great humiliation. Pass down my order, anyone who can take that bastard's life will be rewarded with 1,000 spirit jades. Anyone who can capture him alive and bring him to me will be rewarded with 2,000 spirit jades." In Thousand Fox City, The spies of Meizong sect quickly found out about the heretical cultivation organization's kill order. 1,000 spiritual jades was a great temptation for cultivators below Realm 6, regardless of whether they were humans or demons. But at the same time, for the first time, they learned the details of this matter from the heretical cultivation. He had hidden for half a month just to wait for an opportunity. First, he cheated the trust of the heretical cultivation. After being discovered, he was besieged by the heretical cultivation. In the process of escaping, he even killed more than 10 heretical cultivation practitioners of the same level. What kind of fierce man was he? Just thinking about the process would send chills down the spines of those who were timid. In Li Mu's new residence, Wuxia floated in the air. She looked at Li Mu emotionally and said, "Little snake, I used to think you were timid and afraid of death. I want to apologize to you. You're a real tough guy, different from those pretty Xiaobai guys." Li Mu waved his hand and said, "I'm back now. In fact, I'm also afraid of death. So when I do things, I plan carefully. We snakes are cold-blooded and are born to be stealthy. The forest is my territory. If they dare to come in, they'll die." Wuxia sighed and asked, "So it's really not because of love?" Li Mu also said seriously, "I still like beautiful women. It won't change in my life." Wuxia said, "Who do you like? Tell me and I'll give up completely." Li Mu shook his head and said, "I can't tell you." Wuxia thought for a moment and suddenly said, "Is it Miss Phantom Princess?" Li Mu didn't deny it and said, "Big brother Wuxia, please help me keep it a secret." Wuxia sighed and said, "I knew it. Meizong sect, Thousand Fox City, no, the entire demon nation, as long as they're capable, they don't like Miss Phantom Princess. But your love is destined to be fruitless. Unless you can capture Li Mu alive and bring him to Miss Phantom Princess and become the personal disciple of the Heavenly Monarch, then you'll have a chance." Li Mu clenched his fist and said, "I'll work hard." Wuxia left in disappointment. Li Mu closed the door and lay on the bed. Any female, no matter if she was a woman or a female demon, would find it hard to hate someone who liked her, even if she didn't like them. Not to mention someone like him who was handsome and loyal. In order to complete the mission earlier, Li Mu had to use all means to win Miss Phantom's favor. After lying down for a while, Miss Phantom's voice came from outside, "Li Mu, come here." Li Mu didn't move immediately. Instead, he waited for Miss Phantom to call him 3 times before he walked out of the room. He flew over the wall and landed in another courtyard. Miss Phantom frowned and asked, "What are you doing in the room?" "I've called you 3 times. Li Mu said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Miss Phantom. I haven't gotten used to this new name and didn't react immediately." Miss Phantom said, "Get used to it slowly." She threw a token to Li Mu and said, "From now on, you're my personal guard. Wherever I go, you follow." Li Mu stood with his chest out and said, "Yes." Miss Phantom said again, "Also, before you see me, you have to turn into that statue." Li Mu touched his head and asked in confusion, "Why?" Miss Phantom said indifferently, "There's no why. You just have to listen." Li Mu didn't say anything else. He used his sleeves to wipe his face and quickly turned into another face. Miss Phantom sized him up and waved her hand in the air. Li Mu's projection appeared in front of him. Miss Phantom said, "There's still a bit of difference. Take a closer look. It's best if you can make me look exactly the same." Li Mu revealed a troubled expression and said, I will try my best." 2 hours later, after numerous tests, Li Mu finally turned into something that Miss Phantom was satisfied with. Miss Phantom asked someone to bring him a set of clothes and said, "Change." Li Mu went back to change into a new set of clothes. His original sword was broken in the battle with the heretical cultivation. Miss Phantom also gave him a new one. The quality was better than the original. It was at least Earth grade. When he stood in front of Miss Phantom again, she was stunned for a moment before she raised her hand and slashed at him. Li Mu covered his head with his hands and said in panic, "Miss Phantom, don't." The short sword in Miss Phantom's hand stopped when it was just a hair's breadth away from his neck. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She smiled and said, "Although your cultivation has increased, it's because of external items. Your strength and cultivation aren't compatible. From today onwards, I will guide your cultivation every day. Now you can use the sword in your hand to attack me." At this moment, the way Miss Phantom looked at him made Li Mu think of the Empress. Before she sparred with Li Mu, that was how she looked at him. Li Mu finally knew why Miss Phantom made him like this. She was using the excuse of guiding his cultivation to vent her anger. Although in her heart, Li Mu wasn't the Li Mu she hated, they looked the same, so she felt good beating him up. This meant that he became her scapegoat. At this moment, Li Mu wanted to retaliate angrily, but in the next moment he thought of Han Xian, Go Jian and Ultraman. A great man knows when to yield and when not to. If you can't bear small things, you can't get a fox without entering the fox's lair. For the heavenly book, for the secrets of Maison, he endured. Li Mu took a deep breath and looked at Miss Phantom seriously. He said, "Miss Phantom, I'm sorry." He stabbed with his sword and shouted, "Take this." The two swords in Miss Phantom's hands were replaced with two whips. She whipped Li Mu and said, "Too slow. Still too slow. There are too many flaws. That's it. How did you kill your way out of those people?" Li Mu gritted his teeth and persevered. The Phantom Princess did not suppress her dermic powers at all. It was obvious that she was bullying him. However, Li Mu could only bear with it. He would remember this in his heart. Once he obtained the heavenly book and found out about the Maison sect's spy in the fairy's capital, he would return the whip he received today many times over. Outside the door, Hu Jiao looked at the scene in the courtyard from afar. She shook her head and said, "Is this love?" The fox demon beside her whispered, "How can you bully a demon like this? Miss Phantom is too much." 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these few days, Li Mu accepted Miss Phantom's actions and didn't complain at all. Although his body was humiliated, Miss Phantom would reward him with some recovery pills and various magic treasures after each session. The people of Maison pitied him at the beginning, but later on, they were only envious. A few days later, Miss Phantom seemed to be embarrassed. Looking at the silent Li Mu, she waved her hand and said, "Forget it, I won't practice today." She sat on the stone bench and said, "Come and massage my shoulders." In a bathhouse in Thousand Fox City, mist lingered. In the soundproof array, Li Mu was reporting to the Empress. In the distant Changel Palace in Fairy's capital, Zhou Yi, who was leaning on the dragon throne, sat up straight and said angrily, "What? She bullied you and even asked you to massage her shoulders. I didn't even let you massage me." Bah. She suddenly stood up and slammed the table in front of her. The heavy wooden table was shattered into pieces. Zhou Yi's chest heaved up and down. She gritted her teeth and said, "Damn that fox, I'm so angry." Chapter 442. Thousand Fox City. Hu Jiao, who had lost her physical body and switched to the path of ghost, was chatting with several companions. "Have you guys noticed that Lady Illusion Princess seems to be a little different recently? You noticed it too? I thought it was just my imagination." "It's not your imagination. Lord Phantom Princess likes to smile more recently, and her complexion is much better than before. She looks like those young ladies who have been nourished." "Shut up. Is Lord Phantom Princess someone you can talk about?" Hearing Hu Jiao's angry rebuke, everyone obediently shut their mouths. They looked at a certain limping figure walking out of Lord Phantom Princess's residence with envy on their faces. Lord Phantom Princess has never treated anyone like this before. She would give Little Snake a lot of rewards every time. His wealth is now richer than ours. Yesterday she even gave Little Snake a heavenly flask treasure. Even we don't have this kind of treasure. If we really fight, we might not be his match. Little Snake exchanged his body for this. Look at how badly he is trampled by Lord Phantom Princess every time. This is nothing. If he is willing, I can exchange it with him. That depends on Lord Phantom Princess. Li Mu had already become Phantom Princess's personal guard. She would reward him with some good things every day, but he still could not come into contact with the heavenly book. Over the past few days he had never missed a single mission. All the humiliation he had suffered at the hands of Phantom Princess had been avenged by the evil cultivators. With the treasures that Phantom Princess gave him, Li Mu could unleash even more power. When they encountered danger, he would always rush to the front. When everyone retreated, he would also take the initiative to stay behind and cut off their escape route. When he fought, he would lose 800 of his own men and 1,000 of his enemies. His actions of exchanging injuries for lives gradually won him the respect of everyone. Recently, everyone had changed the way they addressed him from Little Snake to Lordly. Not only did Phantom Princess change his name, but she also let everyone in Maison sect call him that. From the beginning to the end, Li Mu did not wait for these people to call him Daniel Wu. Li Mu was extremely disdainful of Phantom Princess's self-comforting behavior. Instead of going to Fairy's capital to seek revenge, she chose to lie to herself and others. What kind of hero was she? If she had the ability, she would have a fair fight in the future. Li Mu would let her have a good taste of what he was feeling now. Outside, the bell rang again. When Li Mu arrived at the front courtyard, he discovered that many experts had gathered here. Taking a closer look, Weren't they the experts from Meizong sect and Mirage sect that Huan Ji had brought to White Emperor's cave mansion the last time? Among the 10 demonic Dao sects, the Mirage sect and the Meizong sect were both controlled by the 10,000 Illusion Lord. This lineup already included half of the experts of the two sections. After seeing these people, Li Mu understood Phantom Princess's goal. The Heavenly Fox clan was a clan that repaid kindness and revenge. It was not the Heavenly Fox's style to not take revenge after suffering such a huge loss last time. She would always remember this matter in her heart, and even her cultivation would be affected. She had gathered these experts for the sake of revenge. Among the 12 people, other than Li Mu, the others were all 5th realm. However, these 5th realm experts did not look down on Li Mu at all. In the past few days, Li Mu had used practical actions to prove that he could do what 5th realm experts could do. He could even do better. He could also do things that 5th realm experts could not do. Although his cultivation was not very high, his fearless spirit was impressive. Suspended in the void, Phantom Princess said coldly, "Let's go." Dozens of figures broke through the void and flew out of the Thousand Fox country. Several hours later, whoosh, Li Mu cut down a heretical cultivation expert with a sword. He looked at the distant sky. There were waves of intense dermic power fluctuations. Their opponents this time were very strong. They were the 5 leaders of a heretical cultivation organization. The 5 of them were twins. After cultivating, their minds were connected and they cooperated very well. When the 5 of them worked together, they could fight against 6th realm experts with 5th realm cultivation. Their strength was also at the top of the heretical cultivation organization. This was also the reason why Phantom Princess did not take revenge last time. Within the Yao Nation, 6th realm experts could not easily attack. Even someone as strong as Meizong sect could not do anything to this heretical cultivation organization. Phantom Princess took a long time to gather these experts again. She wanted to avenge her past humiliation and take revenge. It was not without reason that the 5 brothers could occupy a place in the Yao Nation. When the 5 brothers worked together, they cooperated very well. Phantom Princess had gathered 10 Meizong sect experts, but they were only evenly matched. With Li Mu's current cultivation, he naturally could not participate in a battle of this level. Otherwise, Phantom Princess and the others would definitely be suspicious. In this heretical cultivation base, other than the 5 leaders, the underlings could not participate in a battle of this level. They all surrounded Li Mu. Now, even if Li Mu was at the 4th realm and had the Dharma treasure given to him by Phantom Princess, he was not afraid of 5th realm cultivators. Killing these evil cultivators was like chopping vegetables. It's him. He's the one who snatched the corpse last time. Retreat. Although the appearance was different, the feeling that the person gave them was definitely not wrong. The heretical cultivation group quickly recognized that the person in front of them was the terrifying existence who barged into their base alone not long ago, snatched the fox demon's corpse, and killed more than 10 of their brothers along the way. After realizing this, the heretical cultivation group that was abnormally fierce immediately retreated in fear. Li Mu was about to give chase when he suddenly stopped in his tracks. He raised his eyebrows and a surprised expression appeared on his face. Then a powerful aura exploded from the ground. Judging from this aura, it was actually another 5th realm expert, and his strength should be at the peak of 5th realm. His cultivation was much higher than Phantom Princess's. Then the ground cracked open somewhere and a figure broke through the air. When he saw that figure, Li Mu was stunned. This person's appearance was exactly the same as the 5 leaders of this heretical cultivation organization. In the sky, the experts of the 2 sects were stunned and immediately revealed shocked expressions. Why is there another one? Oh no, there's 6 brothers. Damn it, it's a trap. That elder did not help the other 5. Instead, he looked at Li Mu with a sinister gaze and gritted his teeth. So it's you? As soon as he finished speaking, his figure had already disappeared from the spot. Li Mu did not hesitate to slap a Fulu note on himself and escape into the distance. Where he originally stood, the elder's skinny hand reached out. If Li Mu was still there, his hand would have pierced through his heart. You can't escape. The elder's attack did not succeed. He coldly snorted and chased after Li Mu. In the sky, Phantom Princess's expression changed. Just as she was about to chase after him, an elder blocked her and sneered. Little beauty, it's already like this and you're still thinking about others. Take care of yourself first, Phantom Princess coldly said. Scram. The elder did not reply, but his attacks became even fiercer. Phantom Princess coldly looked at him and crushed a jade talisman in her hand. Suddenly, a shadow appeared behind her. It was a huge scarlet fox. The scarlet fox shadow was 1,000 feet long and had 7 tails behind it. After the scarlet fox shadow appeared, it entered Phantom Princess's body. The 5 elders looked at Phantom Princess, who was emitting a terrifying aura, with fear in their eyes. They suddenly had a feeling that a great disaster was about to befall them. At the same time in the forest, a figure was quickly escaping. Behind him, a stream of light was chasing closely. The distance between the two was constantly closing. Let me see how long your Fulu can last. You dare to kill my disciple. In a moment I will extract your soul and refine your body into a corpse. I won't kill your soul. I will let you suffer the pain of your soul being burned by the nether fire every day. The power of the Fulu was limited. The Fulu on Limu's body was constantly fading. His speed also gradually slowed down. The elder used his Fa Li and suddenly sped up. His skinny hand viciously grabbed at Limu's neck. However, in the next moment he suddenly felt extreme fear from the bottom of his heart. His body instantly retreated as he looked at Limu with uncertainty. Limu's body had already stopped. He floated in the air. He turned his head and looked at the elder. His expression was strange as he said, "There's something." The elder looked at Limu with fear. Just a moment ago he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. This was related to the cultivation technique he cultivated. His cultivation technique allowed him to sense danger the moment before it arrived. He felt this feeling from many experts. A moment ago he had actually sensed the same danger from this low-level demon. However, no matter how he looked at it, this person was just a 4th-level demon. He was shocked and asked in a low voice, "What exactly are you?" Limu looked left and right. After confirming that they had flown far away and that there was no one around, he said calmly, "That's enough." In the air, a huge bell suddenly appeared. Under the elder's terrified gaze, it covered his head. Chapter 443. Limu, where are you? A figure broke through the air. Phantom Princess's voice resounded through the forest with the help of her magic power. After using the top-level magic of the Fox clan to take care of the 5 heretical cultivation, she immediately chased after Limu and the old man. She knew clearly that although Limu had many magic treasures, he was definitely not the old man's match. Along the way there were no traces of the two, nor were there any signs of fighting. Wuxia flew behind her and asked worriedly, "Will Little Snake be okay?" Phantom Princess's expression was ugly. They didn't know beforehand that the 5 leaders of the heretical cultivation organization were all wild boar demons. And they were not 5 brothers but 6. She took a deep breath and ordered everyone, "Split up and search." Everyone split up and searched in the same direction. When Phantom Princess flew above a forest, a weak voice came from below. "Lord Phantom Princess, I'm here." In the forest, under the thick layer of leaves, a small hill suddenly appeared. Limu carefully climbed out of it. Phantom Princess saw that he was fine and let out a sigh of relief. She asked, "Where's the person chasing you?" Limu shook his head and said, "I know I'm not his match, so I hid. He flew over my head, but I don't know where he is now." Phantom Princess said, "It's good that you're fine." Limu smiled and said, "Our snake clan is good at hiding. With the aura concealing talisman that Lord Phantom Princess gave me, that old man couldn't find me at all." After finding Limu, Phantom Princess gathered everyone again and went to the headquarters of the Heretical Cultivation Organization. Of the 6 leaders of the Heretical Cultivation Organization, 5 died in Phantom Princess's hands. The last one chased after Limu but failed and disappeared. His 5 brothers were already dead and he was the only one left. He probably didn't have the guts to come back. As for their subordinates, they were also dealt with by the experts of the 2 sections. These people from the heretical cultivation had done all kinds of evil deeds and had a blood feud with the demon clan. Basically, they would not rest until one of them was dead. In Maison, there were many members who had been captured by heretical cultivation. After being rescued, they naturally joined Maison. From the base of the heretical cultivation, they found dozens of imprisoned demons. There were both males and females, and without exception the males were handsome and the females were beautiful. In addition, there were more than 10 human women here. In the dungeon, the human women were huddled together, trembling as they looked at the demons outside. Wuxia looked at Huanji and asked, "Lord Huanji, should we follow the old rules and bring them to Jiujiang County, inform their officials and let them deal with it themselves?" Phantom Princess nodded and said, "You and Limu can go." A fox demon who was rescued said indignantly, "Why should we care about these humans? Let them stay here and perish on their own. Huangji glanced at him and said, You should hate those people from the heretical cultivation. They are the same as you. The fox demon's throat moved, but he didn't say anything in the end. Huangji lent Hu Jiao a flask magic treasure. After putting the human women into the magic treasure, Hu Jiao and Li Mu flew to Zhejiang County. Li Mu was silent along the way. Hu Jiao asked, Do you think Lord Huangji is too kind to the humans? Li Mu nodded and said, Yes. Hu Jiao looked at him and said, These humans didn't do anything wrong. They are also victims. Those humans said that the demon clan is cruel and bloodthirsty. If we do that, wouldn't it be the same as what they said? Li Mu thought about it and asked, Since we don't hate humans, why do we have so many spies in the Great Zhou and go against the imperial court? Hu Jiao snorted and said, What bullsh** T imperial court? What did we demon clan do wrong to be treated like this by humans? The imperial court allowed humans to kill us wantonly and take our souls. When we wanted revenge, the imperial court sent out masters to kill us. If we want fairness, we have to overthrow them and establish our own imperial court. Li Mu was speechless after hearing Hu Jiao's words. If he was really a snake demon and suffered such unfair treatment, he would also want to overthrow the Great Zhou court. But he wasn't. Li Mu sighed deeply. After a long time he said, I don't know how many spies the Meizong sect has in the imperial court. When can we overthrow them and establish our own imperial court? Hu Jiao sighed and said, When Cui Ming was alive, we could even directly influence some of the decisions of the Great Zhou court. We also took the opportunity to plant many spies in the internal guards of the Great Zhou Empress. Unfortunately, after Cui Ming's death, the internal guards were also purged. Our influence on the Great Zhou court is much smaller. Speaking of this, she looked at Li Mu again and said, This is all because of Li Mu, the Empress of the Great Zhou Empress. He destroyed at least 10 years of the Meizong sect's plan, so the Lord of Heaven gave him such a generous reward. Lord Huangji also suffered a few losses in his hands, so she changed your name and let you become him. She usually beats you to vent her anger. You have to behave well and make her happy. Li Mu said helplessly, I know. He snorted and said, It's all that damn Li Mu's fault. If it weren't for him, we could still directly influence the Great Zhou court. Now in their imperial court, we shouldn't have such a high-ranking spy, right? Hu Jiao smiled proudly and said, Who said we don't? Li Mu asked curiously, Who is it? Hu Jiao shook her head and said, I can't say this. This is the rule of the Meizong sect. Li Mu said unhappily, Brother Hu Jiao, don't you trust me? Hu Jiao said, Of course I trust you, but this is a secret of our sect. Even the people of the Meizong sect can't reveal it to each other. Li Mu said disappointedly, Then I won't ask. I know that I'm too inexperienced and you don't trust me. These secrets are not something I can inquire about. Hu Jiao hurriedly said, Don't think like that. Everyone, including Master Huangji, trusts you very much. Otherwise, why would Master Huangji let you be her personal guard and take you with her every mission? Li Mu shook his head and said, Brother Hu Jiao, you don't have to say any more. I will adjust my position in the future. I won't say anything that I shouldn't say and I won't ask anything that I shouldn't ask. Hu Jiao was a little anxious and said, Okay, I'll tell you one. Princess Yunyang of the Shao royal family, Cui Ming's former wife, is one of us now. I really can't say anything else. The two entered Zhejiang County City and left the human women in an alley. Then Hu Jiao sent a message to the Zhejiang County government. The two hid in the dark and saw a group of constables rushing out of the county government. When they found the place where the women worked, they left Zhejiang County City. On the way back to Qianhu City, Li Mu still didn't say a word. At this moment he was conflicted. Hu Jiao and the people of the Meizong sect really treated him as one of their own, especially Hu Jiao. She took care of Li Mu as much as Li Qing did at that time. But Li Mu was using their trust to secretly plot against them and get information from them. This made Li Mu feel complicated and he couldn't calm down for a long time. If he was already like this, how would those who had been undercover for so many years, even getting married and having children in other places in order to gain trust, feel? What kind of feelings would they have? Hu Jiao noticed Li Mu's silence and asked, Are you still angry with me? Li Mu shook his head and said, No, I just feel that I'm not a human. Hu Jiao smiled and said, What are you talking about? You're not a human. After completing the mission perfectly and returning to Qianhu City, Li Mu soon heard Huangji's summons. He came to Huangji's courtyard and asked, Lord Huangji, what can I do for you? Two long whips appeared in Huangji's hands and she said, Let me see if you've made any progress these days. Li Mu didn't say a word and drew his sword at Huangji as usual. Since there were some things that couldn't be resisted, she should learn to enjoy it. At least when Li Mu betrayed her in the future, he would feel less guilty in his heart. Huan Ji waved the whips in her hands and gradually slowed down. When she had ravaged him in the past, there had been humiliation and unwillingness on his face. Seeing this hateful face revealing humiliation and unwillingness in front of her, her heart was incomparably carefree. Even the knot in her heart had been untied recently. But when the humiliation and unwillingness disappeared, she felt that it was boring to ravage him again. Not long after, she put away the whips and said, "I don't want to play anymore. It's boring." She sat on the stone bench and ordered Li Mu, "Come and massage my shoulders." Li Mu silently walked behind her and placed his hands on her shoulders, gently squeezing them. Speaking honestly, other than the fact that Huan Ji liked to order him around and trample on him, she treated him very well. She treated him better than everyone else combined. If she ordered him around, then so be it. The more she ordered him around, the less guilty Li Mu would feel. When he betrayed her in the future, it would be easier for him to get over it. He just thought of it as admiring the scenery. Standing in this position, as long as he lowered his head, the scenery was infinitely beautiful. Li Mu comforted himself as he enjoyed the scenery. At a certain moment, Hu Jiu floated in from outside and said, "Lord Huan Ji, we caught a spy from the great Zhou court in Chenhu country." Huan Ji frowned and looked back at Li Mu. She said unhappily, "Why are you using so much strength? You're hurting me." Chapter 444. Illusion Princess Manor. A woman was chained up and her magic power was sealed. Hu Jiu flew around her and said coldly, "I knew that the great Zhou court wouldn't be honest. You really have spies. Tell me, who else are your accomplices? Where are they?" The people from Meizong were glaring at her from the side. The woman looked straight ahead and said lightly, "I have no accomplices. You can kill me or torture me as you wish." Li Mu was also standing in the crowd. He looked angry, but he felt helpless. He knew that the imperial court had spies in the demon country and the demon sect. The Zhu Wei was the Empress's intelligence organization. They were the ones who spread the news about the White Emperor's cave abode. This woman should be from the Zhu Wei. The reason why she was caught was because the people of Meizong sect found her suspicious. Later, when she left, they entered the room to search. Sure enough, they found the communication magic treasure that she used to contact her superiors. Thus, she was captured by the people of Meizong sect. An expert from Meizong sect threatened, "It's not that easy to die. If you want to have a complete corpse, you'd better confess your accomplices. Otherwise, you'll know what it means to beg for death but not be able to." The woman sneered and said, "I really want to know." The strong cultivator looked at Illusion Princess and said, "Master, this woman is too stubborn. She won't confess without torture." Illusion Princess raised her hand and said, "Lock her up first." The spy was taken away. Illusion Princess ordered the others, "You guys keep an eye on her. She must have accomplices in Thousand Fox City. They will most likely come to save her. If they don't, it won't be too late to torture her." Everyone praised in unison, "Master Illusion Princess is brilliant." Illusion Princess added, "Send another order to Meizong sect. Tell everyone to pay close attention to the strange people in the city. If they find anything, report it immediately." After a while, Li Mu walked out of Illusion Princess Manor slowly. The people from the Zhu Wei were the Empress's people. How could Li Mu not save the Empress's people? However, he could not break into the prison directly. He had more important things to do here. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he could not expose himself. If he wanted to save someone, he would do it in a roundabout way. Hu Jiu floated behind him and asked, "Little snake, where are you going?" "Li Mu, go take a bath." A Meizong expert said, "This kid knows how to enjoy life more and more." Hu Jiu sighed. "It's a pity that I lost my body. Otherwise we could soak together." Chang'an Palace. Mr. Mei, Shangguan Li and Zhu Wei, who was already dressed in black, stood in the hall. The atmosphere was somber. The spies of the Zhu Wei in the Thousand Fox country had just sent news that a spy had fallen into the hands of the Meizong sect. Although there were still a few spies in the Thousand Fox country, it was impossible for them to rescue her from the countless experts of the Meizong sect and the Thousand Fox country with their strength. If they forcefully took action, they would only cause more casualties. Mr. Mei thought for a moment and asked, "Li Mu is there too. Can he?" Before the Empress could respond, the Zhu Wei said decisively, "Absolutely not." Her expression was solemn as she said, "Everyone in the Chrysanthemum Guard, from the day they joined the Chrysanthemum Guard, they have this awareness. They cannot sacrifice others just to save one person. Official Li has more important things to do, he cannot take the risk. Mr. May sighed and didn't say anything more. For the sake of the overall situation he had to give up something. Whether it was for the imperial court or the empress, Li Mu was much more important than that spy. Zhou rubbed her forehead. She had taken out the spiritual snail, but she still hadn't contacted Li Mu. This was a choice she couldn't make easily. She didn't want Li Mu to take the risk, but she also didn't want to give up a loyal subject. Just as she was in a dilemma, the spiritual snail in her hand began to vibrate slightly. Zhou didn't hesitate to input spiritual power. Li Mu's voice immediately came from the spiritual snail. Your Majesty, in Thousand Fox City, a spy of the Ju Wei has fallen into the hands of the Meizong sect. Zhou said, I know. You. Before she finished speaking, Li Mu's voice came again. In my current situation I can save her, but it will inevitably be suspected. It's best for the imperial court to negotiate. I received a message from the Meizong sect. Princess Yunyang has been infiltrated by the Meizong sect. There should be an important person from the Meizong sect in her residence. Your Majesty can send someone to capture that person and exchange him in Thousand Fox Country. Zhou Yi's lips moved, but before she could speak there was no sound from the other side. In order not to arouse suspicion, Li Mu's messages were always very brief. Zhou Yi put away the spiritual snail, looked at the three people in the hall and said, let the office of worship seal the residence of Princess Yunyang and search it thoroughly. The three people looked excited and bowed. Yes, Your Majesty. After they walked out of Changle Palace, Zhou Yi took out the spiritual snail again and said bitterly, you didn't even let me say one more word. Compared to the joy of solving the predicament, she was more regretful. She regretted letting Li Mu leave. If she hadn't let Li Mu leave, her favored subject wouldn't have been bullied by that vixen, and he wouldn't have had to massage the vixen's back. That vixen let her know that not all foxes were as cute as Xiao Bai. In Shin-Du, Princess Yunyang's residence was suddenly sealed by the office of worship with a large formation, shocking countless dignitaries in southern court. Then they found a demon sect spy in Princess Yunyang's residence and found evidence of Princess Yunyang's collusion with the demon sect, which set off a huge wave. After Cui Ming, Princess Yunyang also colluded with the demon sect. The Xiao royal family was terrified and hurriedly distanced themselves from Princess Yunyang. The Zhou faction also didn't let go of this opportunity and used these two matters to fiercely impeach the Xiao royal family. After a long time, the new faction and the old faction once again erupted into fierce conflict. Li Mu, who was in Thousand Fox Nation, didn't know about this matter and he felt a little melancholy. Because he liked to soak in baths, Huan Ji specially had someone build a bathhouse for him in his courtyard, and also prepared 2 little vixens for him to order around. This way Li Mu had no reason to go out again. In Huan Ji's residence, Li Mu couldn't use the spiritual snail. There were too many strong people here and it was very likely that he would be exposed. In other words, from now on his only way of contacting the Empress was also cut off. After many days, Li Mu also figured out Huan Ji's methods. He didn't know if it was because she felt guilty, but the more she did things to Li Mu and ordered him around, the better she would treat Li Mu afterwards, as if it was a kind of compensation. On this day, Li Mu was massaging Huan Ji's shoulders while listening to Hu Jiao's report. My lord, in these few days, there hasn't been anyone behaving strangely in the city, especially near the prison. There hasn't been any special situation, so they probably won't save anyone. Just as he finished speaking, someone hurried in and said with an ugly expression, My lord Huan Ji, someone from the Great Zhou court came, saying that they caught one of our spies in Shindu and want to use her to exchange for that woman. Huan Ji frowned and asked, Which spy? That person gritted his teeth and said, It's Hu Lu. What? Huan Ji's expression finally changed. Hu Lu was a very important spy that they had planted in the Great Zhou imperial court. Ever since Cui Ming's death, she had taken the opportunity to bewitch and rope in Princess Yunyang. Apart from gathering information, she was also planning something big. Hu Lu was the best spy cultivated by the Meizong sect. Her mission in these few years was to hide and didn't do anything, so it was impossible for her to be exposed. The only possibility was that someone had leaked the information. Huan Ji's expression darkened and said, Only a few people know about this. Who leaked the information? Hu Jiao's expression also became serious and said, Could there be a spy among them? Huan Ji said in a low voice, Gather everyone who knows about this. Li Mu followed Hu Jiao out and said, Brother Hu Jiao, I know about this too. Hu Jiao waved her hand and said, I know it can't be you. How can you be a spy? How could a person who hid for half a month and narrowly escaped death and infiltrated the heretical cultivation organization alone be a spy? How could a person who rushed to the front of every mission and risked his life to save his compatriots be a spy? Besides, he joined the demon sect because the Meizong sect invited him. The possibility of Meizong sect inviting a spy in the Great Zhou court was so small that it was negligible. Anyone could be a spy, but he definitely wasn't. Hu Jiao thought carefully for a moment and gritted her teeth and said, "Wolf 13, it must be Wolf 13. I thought there was something wrong with this guy. He might be a spy that the wolf cubs sent into our Thousand Fox country. Hu Lu has a good relationship with him. She must have told the wolf cubs." Chapter 445. It was a secret in Meizong that Hu Lu was a spy in Princess Yunyang's mansion. Only a few people knew about it. In order to find the spy who leaked the information, Phantom Princess ordered Hu Jiao to gather everyone who knew about it. In the courtyard, everyone, including Hu Jiao, had to be questioned by Phantom Princess. This wasn't an ordinary question. Phantom Princess used the Fox clan's charm to find the deepest secret in their hearts. It was called heart questioning. Phantom Princess wouldn't use the heart questioning technique on them unless it was absolutely necessary. However, Hu Lu's exposure was a huge blow to Meizong. In order to avoid greater losses in the future, she had to catch the spy. There were 5 demons who knew about this secret. Hu Jiao was the first to float over. She opened her mind completely and looked into Phantom Princess's eyes. She said, "Lord Phantom Princess, please ask." Phantom Princess nodded. Her pupils suddenly turned into a bottomless whirlpool. Her voice was ethereal as if she was in the clouds. She asked slowly, "Did you leak Hu Lu's information to the Great Zhou court?" Hu Jiao's expression was dull. She said blankly, "No." Phantom Princess continued to ask, "Have you done anything to betray Meizong?" Hu Jiao shook her head. "No." Li Mu secretly glanced at Phantom Princess's eyes. His mind was almost sucked in. This made him vigilant. He had already experienced the charm of the Fox clan from Xiao Bai. However, Xiao Bai's charm was innate. Phantom Princess used the Fox clan's special ability to cast it. It was even harder to resist. The power of the heart-questioning technique was even stronger than Wanwan's spiritual eyes. Phantom Princess used this method to ask 3 people in a row. However, she didn't get anything out of them. When she asked the 4th person and was about to ask the 5th, the last person suddenly rushed into the sky and flew away quickly. Hu Jiao was stunned. She said coldly, "Damn it, Wolf Shisan. I knew it was you." Several figures followed her into the sky and chased after Wolf Shisan. Li Mu stood in the same place and looked at this scene in shock. He didn't know what was going on. After all, this was Thousand Fox City, the territory of Meizong sect. Soon, Wolf Shisan was captured by Hu Jiao and the others. His mana was sealed. Under Phantom Princess's questioning, Wolf Shisan's secret was quickly dug out. He was not a spy for the Great Zhou court, but he was a spy for the Yao race. Within the borders of the demon nation, the demons were divided. The various great demons were also eyeing each other covetously, constantly thinking of devouring each other to strengthen themselves. The Wolf Demon clan was one of the top clans in the Yao nation. The ones who fought for the Demon Emperor's abode last time were merely a branch of the Wolf Demon clan. The true Wolf Demon clan was far more powerful than the average demon clan. Their leader, the Blue Wolf Demon King, was a 7th realm mystic demon that was no weaker than the Lord of Myriad Illusions. He had 4 6th realm demon kings under his command. His strength was far beyond that of the Thousand Fox Nation. Because of his handsome appearance, Wolf Shisan was chosen by the Meizong sect many years ago. He successfully went undercover in the Thousand Fox country and delivered a lot of information to the Wolf Demon clan. Although he was not the one who leaked the information about Hu Lu, he still could not pass Phantom Princess's second question. Wolf Shisan had never imagined that after hiding in the Thousand Fox Nation for so long, successfully infiltrating the Meizong sect, and even becoming Phantom Princess's personal guard, he would fall for something that had nothing to do with him in the end. Hu Jiao materialized and kicked Wolf Shisan non-stop. She scolded him as she kicked him. "We treated you like a brother. How dare you betray us? Damn it, I told you to go undercover. I told you to go undercover. You ungrateful wolf cub. I shouldn't have saved you in the first place." Phantom Princess waved her hand, and Wolf Shisan was taken away by 2 people. Her expression was still dark. Wolf Shisan was not the one who leaked the information to the Great Zhou court. It was someone else. Who else knows about Hu Lu? Behind her, Li Mu raised his hand weakly and said softly, Lord Phantom Princess, there's still me? Phantom Princess was surprised. How did you know? Li Mu explained, last time, Brother Wuxia accidentally mentioned it in front of me. Lord Phantom Princess, why don't you use the soul-searching technique on me? Phantom Princess thought for a moment and said to Li Mu, look into my eyes. Li Mu looked into Phantom Princess's eyes and silently recited the mind-clearing technique. Phantom Princess's eyes became extremely deep. She asked 2 questions and got negative answers. No one was surprised. They didn't suspect him at all. Not to mention his contributions to the Maison sect, a spy would be too guilty to escape. How could Lord Phantom Princess take the initiative to question him? This was enough to explain everything. Wuxia was puzzled. Who could it be? Someone said, could it be that Hu Lu accidentally exposed himself? That's the Great Zhou's divine capital. There are many strong people there. If he's not careful, he will be exposed. At this moment, the question of who leaked the news was no longer the most important question. The people sent by the Great Zhou court were already outside the Thousand Fox City. Phantom Princess needed to decide immediately whether to exchange the spy. Phantom Princess took a deep breath and said, let him in. 15 minutes later, in the courtyard of Phantom Princess Mansion. Phantom Princess sat on a chair in the courtyard. Li Mu stood beside her. A thin old man with a short beard walked in from outside. When the old man saw Li Mu standing in the courtyard, his originally calm expression changed drastically. He blurted out, Lord Li. Thousand Fox Country was in the Yao Nation. The messenger sent by the imperial court was naturally not weak. The person who came was one of the 2 high priests of the worship department. Phantom Princess was stunned when she saw his reaction. Then she realized something. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She said lightly, Li Mu, come and massage my shoulders. Li Mu walked behind her and put his hands on her shoulders, gently massaging them. The high priest looked at Lord Li behind Phantom Princess. His eyes flashed and he quickly realized. With a gloomy expression he said, he has a demonic aura. This is not Lord Li Fox Demon. How dare you humiliate an important official of the Great Zhou and the Great Zhou court? Phantom Princess smiled and said, I didn't say that this is your Lord Li. He's my personal guard. It's just a coincidence that his name is Li Mu. You've mistaken him for someone else. With that, she stretched her body and said, Li Mu, help me massage my legs. Li Mu squatted beside her and gently hammered her legs through her long dress. The high priest said angrily, Fox Demon, don't go too far. Phantom Princess snorted coldly. I'm ordering my personal guard. How is that bullying? Li Mu, a little higher. Use more strength. The high priest took a deep breath and calmed himself down. The Fox Demon's intention was obvious. She was humiliating the court. She deliberately found a demon that looked exactly like Lord Li and gave him the same name as Lord Li. She wanted to humiliate Lord Li and the court. However, there was nothing he could do about it. The high priest stopped looking at the demon and said, Thousand Fox Country captured our people. We also captured your people. I'm here on the orders of the court to discuss the exchange. Phantom Princess glanced at him indifferently. Do you think we'll exchange just because you say so? The high priest's eyes were indifferent. He said indifferently, I'm just asking for your opinion. If you want to exchange, then exchange. If you don't want to, then save me the trouble. I'll tell the court that the Fox Demon will be publicly executed tomorrow. Phantom Princess stood up abruptly. How dare you? The chief high priest snorted coldly and said, whether the spies of the imperial court die or not, it will not affect my salary. Do you want to trade or not? Give me a straightforward answer now. I'm still waiting to go back and report. Phantom Princess's expression was ugly. She was no longer as arrogant as before. Hu Lu was one of them. This damned old man didn't care about the lives of the Great Zhou spies, but she couldn't watch her fellow clansmen die. After taking a deep breath, she glared fiercely at the high priest and said, Exchange. Wuxia, bring the Great Zhou spy here. Yes. Wuxia flew out after receiving the order. The high priest stayed in the courtyard. He glanced at the fox demon opposite him. This little fox would have to cultivate for a few more decades if she wanted to fight with him. Soon, his gaze moved to the little demon. It was unknown where this fox demon had found such a demon that looked so similar to Lord Li. She was shouting at him and ordering him around. Wasn't this purely disgusting? It was unknown how Lord Li would feel if he saw this. Phantom Princess didn't anger the old man in front of her. Instead, he forced her to be angry. She saw that the old man's gaze was on Li Mu. She rolled her eyes and came up with a plan. Since the old man couldn't stand the little snake that looked exactly like Li Mu serving her, she would make him do it. He thought it was humiliating, so she would humiliate him. She sat back on the chair and said, "Li Mu, come over and massage my shoulders. Massage your legs. Massage your shoulders. Peel these grapes and feed them to me. Get a basin of water and help me wash my feet." Li Mu could tolerate massaging her shoulders and legs. He could also bear peeling grapes and feeding them to her. Li Mu could also grit his teeth and do it. But washing her feet was a bit too much. If he really washed her feet today, she might let him rub her feet tomorrow. Li Mu took a deep breath. He looked at Phantom Princess and said, "Lord Phantom Princess, I feel that you are trampling on my dignity." Phantom Princess also felt that she had gone too far. But she didn't want to lose face in front of outsiders. After thinking about it, she gritted her teeth and transmitted her voice to Li Mu, "Be obedient. In a few days I will let you comprehend the heavenly book." A smile appeared on Li Mu's face as he asked, "Do you like the foot bath hot or cold?" Chapter 446. Looking at the ridiculous scene in front of him, Great Reverend Chen's breathing quickened, and the veins on his forehead throbbed. He couldn't watch anymore, so he closed his eyes and blocked his hearing. This little fox demon was really shameless to the extreme. If she had the ability, she should have fought with Lord Li. Why did she find a little demon that looked similar to him and shout at him? Who was she trying to disgust? Out of sight, out of mind. He patiently waited for the hostage exchange. Soon Hu Jiu brought a woman over. Great Reverend Qin opened his eyes again after sensing it with his spiritual perception. Hu Jiu held the woman and asked, "Where's Hu Lu?" Great Reverend Qin waved his hand, and a figure appeared out of thin air. It was a seductive and beautiful woman, but her entire body was tied up, and her mouth was gagged with a piece of white cloth. After both sides exchanged hostages, Great Reverend Qin grabbed the woman's shoulder and left without looking at Phantom Princess again. On the highest peak of Thousand Fox City, a Mirage faction powerhouse asked a handsome man, "Great Elder, why didn't you capture this person? If everyone attacked together, he wouldn't be able to leave Thousand Fox City today." The handsome man shook his head and said, "When two countries are at war, they don't kill envoys. It's not difficult to capture him, but if the brothers and sisters of Meizong faction fall into the hands of others in the future, only death awaits." In the courtyard, Hu Jiu untied Hu Lu, removed the white cloth from her mouth, and unlocked her magic power shackles. She quickly asked, "Sister Lu, are you all right?" Hu Lu spat a few times and said through gritted teeth, "I'm fine." Hu Jiu sighed and asked, "How did you suddenly get exposed?" Hu Lu said angrily, "How should I know? I hid well and was still waiting for an opportunity." Princess Yunyang's residence was suddenly surrounded by Great Zhou's Great Reverend's department. 2 sixth realms and more than a dozen fifth realms appeared in front of me. What happened? Who leaked the news? Hu Jiu shook her head and said, "We haven't found him yet, but you don't know that Wolf 13 is actually a spy from the Wolf tribe. You've misjudged him." Hu Lu might have returned safely, but this wasn't a good thing for Meizong faction. She was originally a spy with an important mission, but she was caught by the Great Zhou court and exchanged with a Great Zhou spy, causing Meizong sect to lose an important chess piece. In addition, they had yet to find out how Fox 6 information was leaked. In other words, Meizong sect had a spy with an unknown identity. They didn't know when he would give them another heavy blow. For a long period of time, many people in Meizong sect became nervous and wary of each other because of this incident. In the Imperial Study of Fairies capital, Great Deacon Chen was reporting on his work. Facing the youngest and most powerful person on the continent, his attitude was extremely humble. The mission this time was very simple. He just had to bring the fox demon to the Yao nation in exchange for the spy of the Ju Wei. Just as he was about to leave, the Empress suddenly asked, "Did you see someone who looks like Li Mu in the Thousand Fox Nation?" Head Reverend Qin was stunned for a moment before he nodded and said, "I saw it." He didn't know how the Empress knew about this. Did the Imperial Court have other spies in Qinhu Nation? The Empress asked again, "What is he doing?" Great Deacon Qin said, "I almost forgot about this. That fox demon is really shameless. I don't know where she found a little demon who looks exactly like Lord Li. In front of me, not only did she ask that little demon to massage her legs and shoulders, but she also asked that little demon to wash her feet. She's deliberately humiliating the Imperial Court." The curtain was silent for a long time before the Empress's voice was heard again. "Wash her feet?" Great Deacon Qin nodded and said, "Yes. She deliberately asked that little demon to do these things for the Imperial Court." She's using this shameless method to humiliate the imperial court. After a long silence, the empress said, "You may leave." Great Deacon Qin cupped his hands and left the imperial study. After leaving the imperial study, he suddenly felt a powerful aura soaring into the sky from the palace behind him before he took a few steps. Great Deacon Qin sighed. It seemed that the fox demon's goal had been achieved. She was one of her favorite officials, and perhaps not only that. Being ordered around by another demoness like this, not to mention the empress, even he would not be able to tolerate it. Meanwhile, in the imperial study, Mr. Mei was trying his best to console the empress. "Your Majesty, don't be rash. You can't leave the divine capital anymore. He's enduring for the sake of the imperial court and your Majesty. If he hadn't endured these grievances, we wouldn't have caught that fox demon spy. It won't be too late to make that fox demon pay the price when the opportunity arises." Qinhu Nation. Li Mu waited for Phantom Princess to ask him to study the heavenly tomes. However, Great Deacon Qin had already left for several days, and Phantom Princess hadn't mentioned it again. Li Mu now suspected that he'd been tricked by Phantom Princess. What she meant by "a few days later" was probably the same as the next time. However, Li Mu really believed her at that time. For this, he even gave up his dignity. Before this, he'd only touched Lu Hanyan's jade feet. Now he was reduced to washing a fox's feet. He couldn't accept this. One day, he would also order Phantom Princess around like a servant for a few days to relieve the humiliation in his heart. Li Mu was thinking about the heavenly tomes. When he was drinking with Hu Jiao and the others, he asked indirectly, "Brother Hu Jiao, have any of you seen the heavenly tomes?" Hu Jiao shook her head and said, "The heavenly tomes are the heavenly Lord's treasures. How could we have seen them? In the past, only those who made great contributions had the chance to study them." Li Mu asked, "What's considered a great contribution?" Hu Jiao said, "If you can take in those wolf cubs and make them subordinates of the Thousand Fox country, you'll definitely have the chance to study the heavenly tomes. Or if you can save Phantom Princess once, the Heavenly Lord will probably let you study the heavenly tomes." Sixth sister risked her life to save Phantom Princess when she was in danger. That's how she got the chance to study the heavenly tomes. Taking in the Wolf Demon clan was expanding the territory. The Wolf Demon clan was even stronger than the Thousand Fox country. Li Mu didn't have the ability to take them in. As for the hero saving the beauty, Phantom Princess herself was very powerful. It wasn't anyone's turn to save her. This was something that could only be chanced upon. Hu Jiao patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't be discouraged. There are other ways. If you have the chance in the future, if you can catch Li Mu, you can also study the heavenly tomes. As long as you can catch him, in addition to studying the heavenly tomes, you can also become the Heavenly Lord's disciple." The Heavenly Lord only has one disciple now. Li Mu drank a mouthful of wine. He also couldn't do this. Not to mention that he couldn't catch himself, in front of the Heaven Lord of Illusions. He might not be able to continue pretending as a snake demon. Before the Heaven Lord of Illusions came out of seclusion, comprehending the heavenly tomes and leaving this place was the safest way. Li Mu had already experienced the strength of a seventh realm expert. If the Empress hadn't arrived in time last time, he would have become Phantom Princess prisoner. Hu Jiao asked, "Why? Do you want to study the heavenly tomes?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "Didn't you say that studying the heavenly tomes is good for cultivation?" "My cultivation is too low. I want to improve." Hu Jiao smiled and said, "Then you should serve Lord Phantom Princess well. Maybe one day Lord Phantom Princess will be happy and give you the chance to study the heavenly tomes. Or if you have the ability to make Lord Phantom Princess fall in love with you, you can have anything you want, let alone the heavenly tomes." At this moment, Li Mu missed Li Si very much. If he had Li Si by his side to advise him, it might not be impossible to take down Phantom Princess in a short time. Whether it was a pure young girl or a passionate young woman, Li Si had ways to deal with them. Phantom Princess, who had never experienced love, was the easiest to deceive. But thinking about it, he felt that he was paying too much. It was not worth it to lose his innocence for a page of the heavenly tomes. For Xiao Bai, he could temporarily put down his dignity, but there were still some bottom lines that couldn't be touched. Hu Jiao gulped down a mouthful of wine. She put her arm around Li Mu's shoulder and said sadly, "Little snake, who do you think that damn spy is?" Chapter 447. Li Mu sighed with Hu Jiao. "Yes, who leaked the secret?" Hu Jiao looked at Li Mu and seemed to realize something. She murmured, "Damn it, did I accidentally leak it when I was drunk?" "Shoo." Li Mu put his index finger on his lips and said, "Brother Hujiao, be careful. Don't drink any more." In the end, Meizong sect did not find out the spy. The matter of Hu Lu being exposed was left unsettled. In Illusion Princess Mansion, Li Mu put his hand on Illusion Princess's shoulder, but his mind was not on her. He could not go on like this. He did not have the patience to spy beside Illusion Princess for 8 to 10 years. When Lord of Illusions came out, the risk of him being exposed would increase greatly. He had to get the tomes of Arcane as soon as possible. But how? Li Mu massaged Illusion Princess's shoulder with no interest. A figure in white slowly walked in from outside. It was an extremely handsome young man. He walked in with a smile on his face, and a trace of surprise flashed through his eyes when he saw Li Mu behind Huanji. After that, he said, "Junior sister, he's the snake demon that joined the charm sect not long ago, right? Junior sister, have you investigated him?" Illusion Princess looked at him indifferently and said, "Are you suspecting my people?" The young man smiled and said, "Junior sister, don't misunderstand. I'm just reminding you. Hulu's incident happened not long ago. We have to be vigilant. If someone with ulterior motives sneaks into Meizong sect and something like Hulu happens again, Meizong sect will lose." After saying this, he said, "Father is holding a banquet in the palace tonight. Mother asked me to invite junior sister." Illusion Princess said without hesitation, "I have something important to do tonight. You can go back first. I'm going to cultivate." The young man nodded and said, "Then I will go back first." After turning around, the smile on his face disappeared and was replaced by a gloomy look. Seeing the young man turn around and leave, Li Mu looked away from his back. He had been in the Thousand Fox Nation for some time and had some understanding of this person's identity. This person was also a fox demon, but compared to other fox demons, his status was much more noble. He was the only disciple of the Lord of Illusions and the Crown Prince of the Thousand Fox Nation. Although the Myriad Illusion Heavenly Lord had a high status in Thousand Fox and was respected by the demons, the Huan clan was not a royal clan. The royal family of Thousand Fox was surnamed Bai and the royal family was the Bai clan. However, the 10,000 Illusions Lord was very powerful. Even the imperial family respected him very much. The Phantom Princess also had a high status in the Thousand Fox country. Li Mu had heard from Hujiao more than once that Bai Xian, the crown prince of the Thousand Fox country, had been chasing after Huanji. Everyone knew that even though the Lord of Heaven had a son and a daughter, Lord Huanji was the one who received the true teachings of the Lord of Heaven. The Lord of Heaven had even passed down the heavenly book to her. Whoever could marry Huanji or be married by her would have a limitless future. Entering the Meizong sect, capturing Li Mu and marrying Huanji were the three highest ideals of the demons of Thousand Fox country. Li Mu stood behind Huanji and said, "The crown prince likes Lord Huanji." Huanji said indifferently, "The line of people who like me can stretch from here to the divine capital. Bai Xian is not one of them. I heard from Hujiao that you also like me?" Hujiao did not disappoint Li Mu. As long as he told Hujiao a secret, it was the same as telling everyone. Li Mu said honestly, "The first time I saw Lord Huanji, I fell in love with you. I have liked you for a long time." If other girls heard this, they might panic. However, Huanji had experienced this countless times. Even her tone did not change at all. She said, "You are too weak. I will not like a man who is weaker than me." Li Mu did not know what was wrong with her. If the Empress also thought this way, she would probably be lonely for the rest of her life. Although he was complaining in his heart, his expression became firm. He said, "I will work hard to cultivate." Huanji shook her head. She could not bear to hurt him anymore. After all, she had bullied him enough. She had to give him some hope. At this moment, Li Mu asked again, "Lord Huanji, what kind of contribution do I need to make to be able to comprehend the heavenly book?" Huanji asked casually, "Why do you need to comprehend the heavenly book?" Li Mu said, "I heard that the heavenly book contains the laws of heaven and earth. Those who comprehend the heavenly book can comprehend the laws of heaven and earth and become stronger." Huanji did not expect him to be so determined to become stronger. She smiled and said, "You don't need to make any contributions. Follow me for 5 years. After 5 years, I will ask my father to make an exception and let you comprehend the heavenly book once." Li Mu shook his head. 5 years is too long. I have no chance." Huanji leaned comfortably on the chair and said, "Then there is no other way. Unless you can subdue the Wolf clan or capture Li Mu alive in front of me. Or you can bring the heads of the top 10 heretical cultivation here." After a while, Li Mu found Hujiao and asked, "What are the top 10 heretical cultivation?" Hujiao asked in confusion, Why do you ask this? Li Mu said, tell me first. Hu Jiao explained, the top 10 heretical cultivation are the 10 hangers-on of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince. They are all evil people. Their hands are stained with the blood of the demon clan. The Meizong sect has tried to assassinate them many times, but they are not weak and very cunning. They are also protected by the great Zhou court. We have been helpless against them. The top 10 heretical cultivation did not refer to the 10 most powerful heretical cultivation cultivators, but specifically to the 10 hangers-on of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince. Their cultivation was the strongest in the creation realm, and the weakest in the heretical cultivation. Their strength was not the strongest, but their background was the most profound. They firmly controlled the black industry that sold and hunted the demon clan. Countless demons were killed by them. Some were killed for their elixirs and souls, and some were sold to cultivators as cultivation furnaces or entertainment tools. Because they had the support of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince and the imperial court, no one dared to provoke them. Hu Jiao looked at Li Mu and asked, why do you ask this? Li Mu waved his hand and said, just asking. In the morning after Huanji got up and washed up, she habitually shouted, Li Mu. No one in the courtyard next to her responded. Li Mu? Huanji shouted a few more times, but there was still no response. She flew to the courtyard next door, but there was no sign of Li Mu. She opened the door, and the quilt on the bed was neatly folded. She thought that Li Mu had gone out, but he did not appear for the entire day. It was not until nighttime that Huanji found Hu Jiao and asked, did you see Li Mu today? Hu Jiao was surprised and said, Little Snake, isn't Little Snake following you from morning to night? Huanji said, I didn't see him today. Hu Jiao said, I'll send someone to look for him. Not long after, Hu Jiao flew back with a puzzled expression and said, I've looked everywhere in the city. Bathhouses, brothels, and taverns, but there was no sign of him. Li Mu had never disappeared for no reason, except for the time when he broke into the heretical cultivation organization alone and took back Hu Jiao's body. Huanji seemed to have realized something and blurted out, did he really go to kill the top 10 heretical cultivation? The top 10 heretical cultivation organization. Hu Jiao also remembered something and said in shock, he just asked me about the top 10 heretical cultivation organization yesterday. Why would he go to kill them? Huanji was annoyed and said, I told him that as long as he killed the top 10 heretical cultivation organization, he would be able to comprehend the heavenly book. I didn't expect him to really go. Hu Jiao was worried and said, Lord Huanji, you shouldn't have said that. You know that Little Snake looks smart, but he is stubborn. Even if you were just joking, he would definitely take it seriously. Huanji was also regretful and murmured, how would I know that he would really go? Hu Jiao flew around anxiously and said, it's over, it's over. If he wants to kill the top 10 heretical cultivation organization, he will definitely go to Zhejiang County and the Zhejiang County King's Mansion. There are countless experts there. You will die there. No, Little Snake is so beautiful he might die there. Why does he have to comprehend the heavenly book? Huanji didn't know how to describe her current feelings. She knew why Li Mu had to comprehend the heavenly book. He wanted to become stronger because of what she said. Just because she said that she didn't like men who were weaker than her, he risked his life for the chance to become stronger. Huanji's heart was very complicated. She gritted her teeth and said, this idiot. Chapter 448. Zhejiang County. Zhejiang County bordered the Yao Kingdom, but it was not like the northern county, where the ancestral court of Fu Lu School, one of the 6 Taoist sects, was in charge. Demons ran rampant in the county, and there were often incidents of demons harassing people. The local government was very worried about such cases, but they were not worried about a large-scale invasion by the Yao Kingdom. The imperial court had stationed a large number of troops around Zhejiang County. Demons that were slightly more powerful could not enter this place at all. Demons of the 6th realm and above were all blocked outside the border. However, this place was close to the Yao Kingdom after all. There were no big demons, but there were many small demons. In Xinjiang County, the snake demon incident had spread in the past 2 days. The cause of the incident was a woodcutter in the mountains. When he was gathering firewood, he accidentally fell off a cliff and almost lost his life. Just when he was exhausted and couldn't hold on to the rock anymore, someone suddenly grabbed him by the shoulder and flew him up the cliff. The person who saved him was an extremely beautiful woman. She had the body of a human and the tail of a snake. She was a snake demon. The woodcutter immediately went down the mountain in shock and reported this to the government. The government sent cultivators to investigate, but they did not find anything. In Xinjiang County, in a mountain where the snake demon incident spread, 2 figures flew over and landed on the cliff. It should be here. I wonder if the snake girl is still here. Let's not let others get ahead of us. Let's use the snake-seeking talisman to check. The 2 men exchanged a few words. One of them took out a prepared fulu and threw it into the air. The fulu stabilized and quickly flew in a direction. There's a reaction. The snake demon is still here. It's very likely that she's nearby. Chase after her. The 2 men happily chased after the fulu. Not long after, a strong wave of mana came from a forest in the mountains. Not long after, 2 men happily walked out of the forest. One of them carried a cloth bag on his shoulder and said with a smile, "This snake girl is indeed beautiful. She can definitely be sold for a good price. I want to use her to exchange for some spiritual jades and use them to break through to the 4th realm." As soon as he finished speaking, his body suddenly shook. He lowered his head to look at the blood-red sword that had pierced through his chest. His face was blank. His companion behind him smiled and said, "Sorry, I also want to break through to the 4th realm. However, the spiritual jades exchanged for this snake demon can only satisfy one person." "Sorry." The man's body was pierced through. His nascent spirit struggled to escape, but he had lost his body and was only left with his nascent spirit. How could he be a match for a cultivator of the same level who still had his body and nascent spirit? He was quickly caught and his nascent spirit was destroyed. After the other man destroyed the corpse, he picked up the sack and quickly disappeared. Xinjiang County Wu family courtyard. The Wu family was a powerful family in Xinjiang County. The head of the family, Wu Liang, was a cultivator and had many friends. Cultivators often went in and out of the Wu family. The head of the family, Wu Liang, was also a hanger-on of the Zhejiang commandery prince. He had a great influence in Xinjiang County. Even the Xinjiang County government had to give some face to the Wu family. The Wu family courtyard was not in Xinjiang County. Instead, it was 10 miles west of the city. It was an independent manor that occupied an extremely large area. A carriage slowly stopped at the back door of the Wu family. 2 people alighted from the carriage carrying a gray sack and entered the Wu family. One of them made a hand seal and muttered something. A hole suddenly opened in the ground. The 2 of them jumped in and the hole quickly closed. There was another world under the Wu residence. The buildings on the surface of the manor were already very luxurious. Underground it was even more luxurious. It was not an exaggeration to call it an underground palace. Buildings stood side by side. Occasionally people would enter and exit. Most of them were warm and fragrant women. The 2 men carried the sack and walked to the innermost part of the manor. They followed the stairs and went down another floor. On the 2nd floor of the basement there were many small cubicles. It was like a prison cell. In the cubicles there were men and women, humans and demons. All of them were handsome. However, the figures in the cubicles, regardless of whether they were men or women, had the same numb expression. They were like walking corpses. The entire basement of the basement was abnormally quiet. It was even a little dead. One of them opened the sack and revealed a beautiful woman. "Go in." He pushed the woman into a cubicle and closed the door. He turned and left. Gradually, whispers could be heard from the compartments on the 2nd basement floor. Another one. "It seems to be a demon. She's so beautiful." "So what if she's beautiful? In a few days she'll end up like us." After the woman was locked in, she leaned against the wall and sat down. She did not say a word. The people around her only paid attention to her for a while. Soon they fell into silence again. From time to time, people would come in and take people away from the cubicles. Not long after they would be sent back. After some time, someone finally walked to the woman's cubicle and said, "You come out with me." Wu residence. Inner courtyard. A middle-aged man walked into the inner courtyard. The old man beside him said in a flattering tone, "Master, a snake demon has just arrived at the residence. It looks so beautiful and it is very likely that it is still a fledgling. It has already been sent to your room." A hint of excitement appeared in Wu Liang's eyes. He said, "A snake demon is good. Snake demons are the best at pestering people. With some training she'll be another pillar here." He walked to the door and excitedly rubbed his hands. He said, "If you hear any sounds coming from the room, don't come in." The butler quickly said, "Master, don't worry. We definitely won't disturb your mood." Even if the family head did not say so, they would not dare to enter. If they disturbed his mood at this time, they would be seriously injured or even lose their lives. This was the experience of countless people who used their lives. Wu Liang pushed the door and entered. He quickly closed the door. He looked at the woman sitting at the head of the bed. His eyes suddenly lit up. Even though he had seen countless demons, he had never seen one of such quality. He could not help but pounce to the side of the bed. Outside the courtyard, a few servants of the Wu residents who were waiting here heard the family head's painful cries. They could not help but be puzzled. What was the family head doing inside? Why was he crying out like that? One of them hesitated and said, "Will the family head be okay?" The old butler waved his hand and said, calm down, calm down. This is not the first time. You'll get used to it." Inside the room, Li Mu pressed a hand on the middle-aged man's forehead and forcibly finished searching his soul. His face slowly turned gloomy. When he was in the dungeon, he already knew that this person, who was ranked last in the top 10 heretical cultivation by Meizong sect, was a follower of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince on the surface. However, what he did behind the scenes was dirty and disgusting. They did not only kidnap demons but also humans. After those female demons, female cultivators, and even male demons were kidnapped, the beautiful demons would be used as cultivation furnaces. The ugly ones would be killed directly for their cores or souls. Although there were fewer human cultivators, they still existed. Of course, it was much faster and more comfortable to harvest other people's energies than to cultivate by oneself. Therefore, it attracted a large number of cultivators. They paid spiritual jades or became the follower of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince. They became regular customers here. And this kind of business gave birth to another black industry. If there were people who needed demons to harvest, there would be people who caught demons for them to harvest. Therefore, a large number of cultivators began to capture demons and sell them to these people. This had become a huge black industry in the Zhejiang Commandery. The Zhejiang Commandery Prince stood at the source of this industry. Li Mu did not know why the Zhejiang Commandery Prince attracted these cultivators through this, but it was definitely not a good thing for the imperial court. He withdrew his hand and did not kill Wu Liang directly. This person had left a life talisman with the Zhejiang Commandery Prince. Once his soul disappeared and the life talisman shattered, the Zhejiang Commandery Prince would be able to sense it immediately. This would not be good for Li Mu's next move. He sealed Wu Liang's primordial spirit and temporarily kept it in the flask heaven space. Not long after, the door opened and a figure walked out from inside. Outside the courtyard, the old man hurried in and asked, "Master, should we bring her out?" Wu Liang said lightly, "No need. The snake demon is indeed delicious. I want to taste it again tonight. Let her rest first and recover her energy. No one is to disturb her. Otherwise I'll break his neck." The old man hurriedly said, "Yes, yes, yes. I'll immediately instruct them." Wu Liang walked out of the courtyard and said, "Prepare the carriage. I'm going out to Muda's residence." Lord Mu was his master's best friend. Both of them were also the Zhejiang Commandery Prince's retainers. The old man said, "I'll prepare the carriage now." 15 minutes later, at the Mu residence, a man looked at Wu Liang and smiled. "I heard that you have a new snake demon. Let me taste it first. I haven't tasted a snake demon yet." Wu Liang looked around and lowered his voice. "I have an important matter to discuss with you. Let's talk about it behind closed doors." Muda saw his serious expression and also became serious. He closed the door and cast a soundproof spell. Then he asked, "What is it?" Wu Liang smiled and said mysteriously, "Come closer." 15 minutes later, the door opened. Two figures walked out side by side and left the Mu residence. The servants of the Mu clan were not surprised by this. The relationship between the two masters was quite good. Their master had left with Lord Wu to taste the wonderful taste of a snake demon. They had heard that snake demons were the best at pestering people, but they did not know if that was true. In the carriage, Muda had just entered the carriage when he collapsed. Li Mu continued to search his memories. He whispered, "Who's next?" Chapter 449. Zhejiang Commandery Prince's Mansion. Everyone knew that the Commandery Prince of Zhejiang liked to make friends. Most of the reputable cultivators in Zhejiang Commandery were friends with the Commandery Prince of Zhejiang. Many cultivators even became his followers and received many benefits from the Commandery Prince's mansion every month. At the beginning of every month, on the 15th, the Commandery Prince of Zhejiang would invite his friends to a banquet. All the cultivators in Zhejiang Commandery were honored to be invited. Today was the 15th, the day of the banquet. The Commandery Prince of Zhejiang was entertaining a few new friends when he saw a few empty seats at the banquet. He asked his followers, "Who didn't come today?" A man beside him said, "Lord Wu, Lord Mu, and Lord Mei are cultivating in seclusion in Lord Wu's residence to comprehend a divine ability. They sent someone to apply for leave." After the commandery prince of Zhejiang asked for the reason, he didn't take it to heart. Even cultivators couldn't get rid of the desire for good food. The banquet was very sumptuous. The guests drank and chatted. In my opinion, the commandery prince should just become the prince of Zhejiang. The world belongs to the Shao family. Why should he be the servant of the Zhou family? What kind of world is this? A woman can be the emperor. I've never heard of it. Sooner or later, the great Zhou will be restored to the Shao family. I think the commandery prince is most qualified to be the new emperor. In the corner of the commandery prince's mansion, a figure was drinking by himself and listening to the discussions. After the banquet, he left with the crowd. Li Mu had already captured 4 of the top 10 heretical cultivation masters and disguised himself as one to attend the commandery prince of Zhejiang's banquet. When he left the commandery prince's mansion, he was relieved. The people gathered in the commandery prince's mansion were just a bunch of mobs. Most of them were at the concentration theurgy. Only a few of them were at the 5th realm. Even if they gathered together, they wouldn't be able to do much. However, the commandery prince of Zhejiang had invested a lot in gathering these people. If it weren't for the huge income from his underground business, he wouldn't have been able to afford so many followers and friends. Li Mu originally intended to continue moving, but his eyebrows suddenly raised, and his figure hid in a dark alley. With a flip of his hand, a small and exquisite compass the size of a palm appeared in his hand. This compass was one of the treasures Illusion Princess had given him. She didn't say what it was used for, but at this moment the compass needle suddenly moved and pointed in a certain direction. Li Mu followed the compass and arrived at an inn. He walked up to the 2nd floor of the inn and stood in front of a door. The door opened and Hu Jiu appeared in front of Li Mu. They needed to go back to Thousand Fox City to gather more strong people from Meizong sect. On the way, Huanji gritted her teeth and said, "Damn Li Mu. If he hadn't taken the Demon King's cave, we could have saved everyone this time." Li Mu looked innocent. Huanji seemed to realize something and explained, "I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other Li Mu." Li Mu heaved a sigh of relief and said, "That's good, that's good." Li Mu had given enough reasons for the people who disappeared from Zhejiang Commandery Prince's retainers. They were either in seclusion or out. As long as their primordial spirits weren't destroyed, no one would suspect that something had happened to them in a short period of time. But Li Mu could only delay for half a month at most. When the next banquet was held by Zhejiang Commandery Prince, if they didn't show up, people would be suspicious. Huanji needed to spend some time to gather the strong people from Meizong sect. Li Mu stood in the courtyard and was hesitating whether he should remind her about the tomes of arcane when he heard Huanji's call. Li Mu jumped over the wall and came to Huanji's room. He knocked on the door. "Come in." Hearing Huanji's voice, Li Mu pushed the door open and entered. Huanji threw out an item and said, "Take it." Li Mu took it and realized that it was a spiritual jade. But it was different from normal spiritual jades. In the center of this spiritual jade, there seemed to be a drop of blood sealed. Li Mu could feel Huanji's chi from it. Huanji said lightly, "Take this item with you. Don't put it in the flask space." Li Mu put it in his sleeve and said, "Yes." He roughly understood what it was. Huanji had sealed a drop of her essence blood in this spiritual jade. This way, within a certain range, she could sense Li Mu's presence. On the other hand, if Li Mu left this range, she would be able to sense him immediately. It was obvious that this was to prevent him from acting on his own like the previous 2 times. After doing all this, Huanji stretched out her hand. A page that Li Mu had been drooling over appeared in her palm. Huanji looked at him and said, "This is the page of the heavenly book. Father is in seclusion. Without Father's permission, I can't let you study it. But you have contributed a lot to Meizong sect. I can make an exception this time. You only have 1 night. Make good use of it." Li Mu held the heavenly book with both hands and said gratefully, "Thank you, Lord Huanji." Huanji said lightly, "No need to thank me. You used your own merits to exchange for this. You can study it here. Tonight you can't leave this place." "Yes." Li Mu nodded and then sat down cross-legged. He suppressed the joy in his heart. Just as he was about to study it, he suddenly realized something. He looked up at Huanji and asked, "Lord Huanji, how do I study the heavenly book?" In a moment of excitement, he almost forgot that he was playing the role of a country bumpkin snake who had never seen the world. He had never even seen the heavenly book before. How could he know how to study it? Huanji walked to the table and sat down. Use your spiritual sense to feel it or use your finger to touch it. Li Mu took a deep breath and touched the page with his finger. He slowly closed his eyes. The room returned to silence. Huanji held her chin with one hand and looked at the figure who was seriously studying the heavenly book. She looked a little helpless. She did not know if she should be happy or sad that she had such a hothead under her command. If she said that he was obedient, he always acted on his own and did not listen to orders. If she said that he was disobedient, there was no one more obedient than him. He listened to almost everything she said and fulfilled all of her unreasonable requests without any complaints. After staring at this familiar face for a long time, Huanji thought of another troublesome thing. The damned Li Mu beside the Empress of Great Zhou had become a stone in her heart. She could not pick it up or let it go. She paced back and forth between revenge and gratitude. She was hesitant. In the end, she gritted her teeth and made a decision. Rather than being conflicted for a long time, it was better to make a quick decision. From now on, she and Li Mu had nothing to do with each other. In the future, she would keep the little snake by her side. When she had nothing to do, she could bully him. This could be considered as venting her anger. Although this was not fair to the little snake, as long as she compensated him later, she held her chin with both hands and looked at the face in front of her. Although this face was handsome, it was really asking for a beating. They would let little snake live in their hearts forever. Li Mu asked casually, "When will the Lord of Heaven come out of seclusion?" Hu Jiu said, "Why do you ask?" Li Mu smiled honestly and said, "I admire the Lord of Heaven very much. I don't know when I can meet him." Hu Jiu shook her head and said, "I think it will be a long time. The Lord of Heaven has been in seclusion often these years, and each time he stays in seclusion is longer than the last. I'm afraid we'll have to wait for a year and a half this time." Li Mu was actually most worried about Illusion Lord of Heaven coming out of seclusion. The power of a seventh realm expert was beyond his imagination. If Illusion Lord of Heaven could see through his disguise, all his previous efforts would be in vain. Li Mu was relieved to hear this from Hu Jiu. When they were halfway through their meal, a bell suddenly rang on the peak. It was the bell of Meizong sect for gathering. They didn't delay and immediately flew to the peak. Many people from Meizong sect had already gathered on the peak. Illusion Princess and Prince Bai Xian of Thousand Fox Country were also there. They were both elders of Meizong sect. Another handsome man with sixth realm cultivation who looked similar to Illusion Princess was accompanying a young man. The young man was dressed in white with a black lotus embroidered on his chest. Li Mu's eyes turned cold. The black lotus was the symbol of the Demonic Path Sacred Sect. The status of the Demonic Path Sacred Sect in Demonic Path was equivalent to the status of Baiyun Mountain Ancestral Court in Fulu School. The subsects didn't submit to anyone, but the sacred sect had absolute control over the other 9 sections. Even a long time ago, these 9 sects were separated from the sacred sect. As a force that existed longer than Taoism and Buddhism, the Demonic Path Sacred Sect had always been a synonym for mystery. Outsiders, even the other sects of the Demonic Path, knew very little about them. Li Mu had the memory of 1,000 illusions venerable, but he only knew that the sacred sect was very powerful. There might be existences beyond the 7th realm among them. Even the demon emperor Bai from 3,000 years ago was extremely afraid of the demonic path in the depths of his memory. The Meizong sect gathered this time just to welcome this person from the sacred sect. Not long after, the young man from the sacred sect went to the palace. The people of the Meizong sect dispersed. Li Mu and Hu Jiu returned to the restaurant. They had only finished half of their food and wine. Hu Jiu looked in the direction of the palace. She raised her head and took a sip of wine. She sighed softly. Li Mu asked, "What's wrong?" Hu Jiu said worriedly, "The people from the sacred sect have come with ill intentions. The conflict between the Lord of Heaven and the sacred sect has been going on for a long time. The Lord of Heaven didn't agree with the matter of the Zheojiang commander-in-chief. Later, the sacred sect bypassed the Lord of Heaven and sent Cui Ming to the Great Zhou court through the case of the Zheojiang commander-in-chief. The Lord of Heaven had no choice but to accept it. All these years, the Lord of Heaven has been cultivating wholeheartedly. The First Elder and Lord Illusion Princess have disobeyed the orders of the sacred sect many times. The sacred sect has been disobeyed by the sacred sect and the sacred sect. There was still too little information about the demon sect from the imperial court. If Wuxia hadn't mentioned it, Li Mu wouldn't have known about the conflict between the sacred sect and the Meizong sect. Many people from the Meizong sect and the Meizong sect also wanted to overthrow the Great Zhou court. However, they overthrew the rule of the Great Zhou in order to establish a demon clan regime. They didn't want the demon clan to be exploited and killed by humans. The Meizong sect hated humans, but she didn't vent her anger on all humans. Over the years, while they rescued the demon clan, they also rescued many humans. However, some people from the demon clan only wanted to destroy and kill. The Meizong sect ignored the orders of the sacred sect and gradually incurred the dissatisfaction of the sacred sect. Li Mu was certainly happy to see the internal strife of the demon clan. However, Wuxia was quite worried. The mysteriousness and power of the sacred sect were rooted in the deepest part of everyone's heart. Even the Lord Saint wouldn't have a good end if he went against them. The sacred sect emissary stayed in the Thousand Fox Country for 2 days. The royal family of the Fox Country accompanied him the whole time. Illusion Princess also had to accompany him. Therefore she didn't order Li Mu around these 2 days. Imperial Palace. Illusion Princess received Wuxia's message. Several strong people from the Meizong sect had already returned to the Thousand Fox City. She cupped her hands to the youth and said, "Lord Emissary, I still have important matters to attend to. Please forgive me for leaving first." The youth didn't speak. The Crown Prince of the Thousand Fox Country Bai Xian looked at her and said with dissatisfaction, "Junior sister, you don't know the rules. What is more important than the Lord Emissary?" Illusion Princess said calmly, "There are countless people suffering. I have to go save them." Bai Xian said angrily, "Junior sister, you..." The youth in white smiled and said, "Saving people is more important. Miss Illusion Princess, you can go." Illusion Princess cupped her hands to him and flew away. After Illusion Princess left, Bai Xian said apologetically, "Lord Emissary, please don't be angry. My junior sister has been so unruly since she was young." The youth in white looked at the sky and said lightly, "She's not the only one who doesn't know the rules in the Huan family." Hearing this, Bai Xian was shocked and didn't know what to say. The youth in white looked at him and said, "I actually came this time to tell you something." Bai Xian cupped his hands and bowed. He said respectfully, "Please tell me, Lord Emissary." The youth in white said, "The elders hope that the Bai family can control the Meizong sect." Bai Xian was ecstatic, but his face showed a difficult expression. He said, "The Meizong sect trusts Master. Senior brother Huan Yun and junior sister Huan Ji are the controllers of the Meizong sect. Although the Bai family has many people in the Meizong sect, they don't have much power. After all, Master is at the 7th realm and senior brother Huan Yun is at the 6th realm." The youth in white said, "It's not important whether you can or not. What's important is whether you want to or not." Bai Xian said, "I want to, but Master won't agree. Senior brother Huan Yun and junior sister Huan Ji won't give up the Meizong sect." The youth in white smiled and asked, "What if they all die?" Bai Xian's face turned red. He said, "Lord Emissary, the heavenly monarch is my master. Senior brother Huan Yun is like my brother. Junior sister Huan Ji is my most beloved woman." The youth in white said, "So you can't do it?" Bai Xian took a deep breath and said, "Please let me do it myself. My Bai family is the king of the Fox family. I've tolerated that old thing for a long time." The youth in white smiled and said, "Very good." Not long after, Bai Xian came to the Huanji manor. A servant said, "Your Highness, Lord Huanji just left." Bai Xian said with a worried expression, "What should we do? I just did a divination for junior sister Huanji. The divination showed a bad omen." Chapter 451. In the northwest of the ancestral state, there were endless mountains. Zhejiang County was an important barrier. It was guarded by a large number of troops, closely monitoring every move of the Yao nation. Although there were many troops, the security of Zhejiang County was not good. The existence of the garrison was to defend against external enemies and would not easily interfere with local politics. Zhejiang County was bordered by the Yao Kingdom, and the county was filled with demons and bandits. The common people lived in groups, and when they went out, they often traveled in groups. Zhejiang County, one of the 9 counties. A woman in white slowly walked on the mountain path. The woman was extremely beautiful. Her figure was graceful and her face was beautiful. She was naturally charming. When the woodcutter saw her, he could not take his eyes off her. He almost took a wrong step and stepped into a cliff. After the shock, he panted and said to his companion, "Such a beautiful girl dares to go out alone. In the past few months at least 8 if not 10 women have mysteriously disappeared around here." His companion disagreed and said, "A beauty who dares to go out alone these days can't be an ordinary person. She might be an immortal or a demon. Look at how beautiful she is. She's like a fox spirit. How can a person be so beautiful?" On the mountain path, the beautiful woman continued to walk. When she passed by a dense forest, a figure suddenly walked out of the forest. It was a young man in blue. He had the cultivation of spirit condensation. He looked at the woman on the mountain path with a fiery gaze and praised, "What a beautiful woman! Such a beautiful woman, even if she was not a rare demon, could be sold for a very good price." After all, although female demons were rarer, not everyone liked demon furnaces. The value of such a beauty was definitely not inferior to any female demons. Looking at the woman on the mountain path, he felt a fire in his heart. He slowly walked towards her. A moment later, the beautiful woman continued to walk. The unconscious young man in blue was hung on a tree. His cultivation had been destroyed. When she was about to reach the foot of the mountain, the woman touched a jade bracelet on her hand. Several figures appeared out of thin air. If everyone swaggered through the air, it would be too eye-catching. Whether it was the military or the local government, it would not be beneficial to the plan. Li Mu, Hujio, and the others hid in Phantom Princess's storage space for a while. For this operation, each of them had a flask heaven space. Although the area was not large, the 7 of them combined were not small. It was enough to accommodate everyone in the Wu family's underground palace. Li Mu had a bigger space, but if he revealed it, his identity would be exposed. So, he could only go back to the Thousand Fox country and let Phantom Princess solve the problem of space herself. Now that he had comprehended the heavenly book of the Fox clan, it was time for him to leave. This time, with Fantasy Princess and the others by his side, Li Mu would not be able to unleash his full potential. After this mission was over, he would try to find an opportunity to escape. He put away these thoughts and said to Huanji and the others, "Lord Huanji, I'll have to trouble you." Phantom Princess nodded and walked into the forest with Hulu. When they came out, their hair was tied up and they had changed into men's clothes. They looked very handsome and charming. The beauty of the people from Meizong sect was not differentiated by gender. No matter if it was a man dressed as a woman or a woman dressed as a man, they were all stunning beauties. Under Li Mu's lead, the group came to the Wu family. It looked like an ordinary manor, but there was actually a powerful formation outside. Unless there was a 6th realm cultivator, it would be very difficult to break in from the outside. Li Mu had changed his appearance. Like Wu Liang, he was also a follower of the Zhejiang Commandery King. He was now lying in the flask heaven space that Phantom Princess gave to Li Mu. His vital spirit and body were imprisoned. A guard of the Wu family came up and said respectfully, "Welcome, Lord Qin. Master is in seclusion and can't receive you personally. Please don't blame him." Li Mu said, "I've brought a few friends to play. You can make the arrangements. I won't disturb Brother Wu." The guard said, "Everyone please follow me." He held the token and led them through several checkpoints. They came to an empty space in the backyard. He formed a seal with his hands and his lips trembled. A large hole opened in the ground. It was pitch black inside and they could not see anything. The guard stood at the entrance of the hole and said, "Please go in. Someone will receive you below." Hujio was about to jump down when Phantom Princess suddenly grabbed her collar. Li Mu was also suspicious. He said in a low voice, "Something's wrong." The entire Wu family was eerily quiet. Li Mu and the others had not seen anyone since they came in. It was not like this when Li Mu came last time. The moment Phantom Princess stopped Hujio, the guard of the Wu family was about to retreat. Li Mu pointed at the back of his neck and sealed his cultivation. Phantom Princess had already sensed that something was wrong. She immediately said, "Retreat?" But it was too late. The light of the formation flashed in the sky above the Wu family. A translucent shield instantly solidified. The 7 of them were trapped inside the shield. Outside the shield, a dense crowd of people began to gather. An ambush. We've fallen into a trap. Inside the formation, everyone spoke with an ugly expression. When Hulu and the others came to their senses, they immediately looked at Li Mu with suspicion and hostility in their eyes. From the beginning, he was the one who provided the information and planned this. If there was a traitor among them, he was the most suspicious. Hujio understood their expressions. She said with a dark face, "What do you mean? Are you suspecting Little Snake?" Lu and Li Mu pulled away and said, "He is indeed the most suspicious. Shouldn't we suspect him?" Hu Jiao said decisively, "It can't be Little Snake. I believe him." While the two demons were arguing, Phantom Princess did not panic. She said in a low voice, "Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's work together to break the formation." Her words were very useful. They all took out their weapons and attacked the formation above them. Only Li Mu did not move. He knew that their attacks were useless. The underground palace of the Wu family was the money tree of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince. He had invested a lot in the protective formation here. Even a sixth realm cultivator would need some time to break this formation. If Phantom Princess brought the cultivators of the Meizong and Mirage sects, they might be able to break it. However, she had gathered them in an emergency and did not have enough manpower. They could not even shake this formation. Phantom Princess formed a seal with her hands. A huge six-tailed fox shadow appeared behind her. She used the fox shadow to unleash her strongest attack. However, it only made the formation shake a little. The formation was still stable. At this moment, Hu Jiao realized that Li Mu did not move. She said angrily, "Why are you still standing there?" Li Mu shook his head and said, "It's useless. I searched the soul of the owner of this place. Even a sixth realm cultivator would need more than 2 hours to break this formation. If we continue like this, we'll just be wasting our magic power." Phantom Princess could unleash a sixth realm attack. However, she only had the power for one attack. It was far from enough to break the formation. She landed and gritted her teeth. There are still spies in the Meizong sect. Outside the array, a young man crossed his arms and looked down at them from above. He said indifferently, "You guys really dared to come?" Lu raised her head and asked coldly, "How did you know?" The young man smiled and said, "We're going to die. What's the use of knowing this?" Lu said coldly, "The Lord of Heaven's daughter is here. If you dare to hurt her, the Lord of Heaven will not let you go." The young man sneered and said, "The Lord of Heaven's illusion is so scary. Then let him come. Let's see who will not let who go." The Duke of Zhejiang obviously knew Phantom Princess's identity. Li Mu ruled out the possibility that they discovered something was wrong and set up an ambush in advance. The imperial court did have spies in the Meizong sect. However, they did not have access to such confidential information. The only possibility was that the higher-ups of the Meizong sect leaked the information to the Duke of Zhejiang. Did the Duke of Zhejiang also have spies in the higher-ups of the Meizong sect? Right now, spies were not the most important thing. The Duke of Zhejiang gave the order. Outside the formation, countless cultivators activated the formation at the same time. A sky full of spells attacked them. Although there were no 6th realm cultivators outside the formation, they were all 4th realm and 5th realm cultivators. There were too many of them. Their combined attacks were very close to 6th realm attacks. Even Dongshan cultivators would be in a difficult situation if they were trapped in the formation. Phantom Princess threw out an ancient turtle shell. The turtle shell emitted a faint fluorescent light and covered them. However, the light on the turtle shell was slowly dimming under the intensive attacks. Lu said with a trembling voice, "Lord Phantom Princess, this Dharma treasure will not last long." As the turtle shell dimmed, Phantom Princess's face gradually turned pale. She still had a few powerful Dharma treasures. However, they could only last for a while. The attacks outside the formation would eventually land on them. Everyone would not be able to escape the fate of being destroyed in body and soul. At this moment, no one doubted Li Mu. It was obvious that the people outside wanted to kill them all, not leaving a single one alive. Which spy would die with them? Wuxia sat on the ground. She gritted her teeth and said, "If we can escape, I will definitely catch that damned spy. I will tear him into pieces and burn his bones to ashes." Lu sat beside her dejectedly. She said, "Let's talk about it after we escape. What's the use of saying this now? I'm still a virgin. I haven't even tasted a man." Phantom Princess was silent. After the undercover incident last time, she had been more careful. Not many people knew about this, but even so, they had still been ambushed. The light on the turtle shell was very dim. Wuxia looked up. After a moment of silence, she slowly stood up and said, "If the 6 of us explode our demon souls and primordial spirits, even if we can't break the formation, we can weaken it to the greatest extent. It will be enough for Lord Phantom Princess to break the formation. As long as the formation is broken, Lord Phantom Princess will have hope of escaping." The demons did not speak. Their faces were filled with determination. Phantom Princess said firmly, "No." This was the only time Wuxia did not go along with Phantom Princess. She said firmly, "Lord Phantom Princess, we have no other choice. Only if you escape can you avenge us and save the people here. We still have a choice." A voice suddenly sounded. Everyone's eyes immediately looked behind Phantom Princess. Li Mu slowly said, "I just searched through the memories of the owner of this place and found that this formation has a weak point." The cultivator who was flying at the front suddenly flew back. A figure suddenly appeared in front of him. That figure was only at the 4th level at first, but his aura began to climb at this moment. It climbed to the early stage, the middle stage, the late stage until it reached the peak of the 4th level. At some point it reached the 5th level. However, this was not the end. In just a few breaths, his aura climbed to the peak of the 5th level. This scene scared all the cultivators present. They did not dare to act rashly. If this person took one more step, he would reach the 6th level and enter the ranks of the strongest cultivators on the continent. At that time, who would be able to stop him? Fortunately, his aura did not change after reaching the peak of the 5th level. Li Mu quietly put away the Dao Bell and secretly adjusted the position of the Fulu on his arm. The flaw in the formation was fake. In fact, when Phantom Princess attacked with her full strength, he made the Dao Bell become undetectable and lightly hit it. The Dao spell was also fake. The reason his aura climbed was because he used the Fulu. The blood escape was also fake. It was just an excuse he used to deceive Phantom Princess. Although he didn't expect this undercover incident, it was also an opportunity for him to escape. Seeing that the person's aura no longer climbed, the Duke of Zhejiang let out a sigh of relief. He pointed at the Creation Realm cultivators and said, "You guys kill him. The rest of you chase after him." As soon as he finished speaking, a few people rushed in the direction Phantom Princess disappeared. However, in the next moment, a figure blocked their path. He floated in the air and said in a low voice, "Those who cross this place will die." The Duke of Zhejiang was extremely angry. He shouted, "Kill him. Kill him now." Countless figures swarmed forward. Behind them, under the night sky, Phantom Princess ignored the overdraft of her dermic powers and pushed her speed to the limit. Even though they were so far away, she could still feel the rapidly rising aura behind her. It seemed that the little snake did not lie to her. He really did comprehend a powerful Dao spell from the heavenly book. She continued to squeeze out her dermic powers and increased her speed. Hu Jiao and the others were already in the sky flask. She had to use her fastest speed to fly into the 100,000 mountains. Only then would she not let down the opportunity the little snake had risked his life to create for them. In the sky above the Wu Manor, Li Mu had killed countless people. He looked back in the direction Phantom Princess had disappeared and said softly, "Lord Phantom Princess, farewell forever." He slowly turned back. Suddenly, a strong white light emitted from his body. In the sky above the Wu Manor, the cultivators were scared out of their wits. "Oh no, he's going to self-destruct. Retreat. Damn it, don't block me." Chapter 452. Zhejiang County, Qingjiang County. In a pharmacy in the county. The doctor stroked his long beard and withdrew his hand from a man's pulse. He asked, "When did this symptom appear?" The man said with a bitter face, last night I was making love with my wife. Suddenly there was a loud noise outside. It shook my house so much that it almost collapsed. At that time I was moaning. Then this morning I couldn't get up." The doctor nodded and comforted him. "It's okay. It's normal to have such symptoms when you're frightened. I'll give you a prescription. You'll be fine after taking it for a few days." The man said gratefully, "Thank you, doctor." "Thank you. It's my pleasure." The doctor raised his pen and said, "Just follow this prescription to get the medicine. 100-year-old ginseng, 1 deer antler, a pair of bear paws, and half a kilogram of caterpillar fungus. Take it for a few days and you'll be fine." After the man got the medicine and left, the shopkeeper of the pharmacy counted the silver and said, "I don't know what happened last night. I was sleeping soundly when there was a loud noise outside. I was so scared that I fell under the bed. I thought the earth dragon had turned over, but it just shook." On the street the people were also discussing this matter. The loud noise last night had awakened all the people in the city. Even now, most of the people did not know what had happened. It was not until the Qingjiang County government posted a notice to calm the people that the people knew the ins and outs of the matter. The notice said that last night, A few demons attacked the Wu family estate outside the city and engaged in a great battle with the cultivators of the Wu family. The battle was extremely intense, razing the entire Wu family estate to the ground. The loud sound came from the battle. Too scary. A battle actually caused such a big commotion. Fortunately, the battle didn't happen in the county. Otherwise we would also be affected. When will the imperial court completely destroy these damn demons? Chase them back into the mountains and never come out. In the crowd, a cultivator said with lingering fear, "What kind of bullsh*t battle is this? A battle of magical powers isn't that powerful. That's equivalent to the self-destruction of someone at the peak of the creation realm. Yesterday I was just watching from afar, but I was injured by the shockwaves. If I had been any closer I might have died." The person beside him was pale and his aura was very weak. He gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it, I need at least half a year to recover from the injuries I suffered this time. That lunatic, His Royal Highness was angered by him last night." The cultivator said, "If it wasn't for that lunatic, His Royal Highness would have caught those demons." If the daughter of the Lord of Illusions was handed over to the imperial court, it would be a great merit. Little Snake. In the crowd, a handsome man's face was covered in tears. When tears fell from his cheeks, they dissipated into the void. Beside him, a beautiful woman also shed tears. She took a deep breath and said in a hoarse voice, "Let's go." Thousand Fox City. After Phantom Princess, Hu Jio and the others came back, they searched the entire Meizong sect, but they still didn't find any clues about the spy. That person was like a poisonous snake that chose people to devour. He hid in the dark and no one knew when he would bite them again. Phantom Princess looked at Hu Jio and Hu Lu and said, "From now on, the only people I can trust are you." Hu Jio walked into a small courtyard. When she came out, she was holding several neatly folded clothes in her arms. She looked sad and said, "I want to build a tomb for Little Snake." Outside Thousand Fox City, a small mound was piled up on a beautiful hillside. Phantom Princess and Hu Lu stood in front of the mound silently. Hu Jio put her hand on the tombstone in front of the mound and said seriously, "Little Snake, I will avenge you." Zhejiang Commandery Prince's Mansion. "Your Royal Highness, Lord Wu, Lord Mu, Mr. May's life talismans are all broken. Lord Chen's is also broken. It's the Fox Demon's revenge." Hearing the report, the Duke of Zhejiang's face became gloomier and gloomier. Foxes were indeed vengeful. Not long after they escaped, they launched a crazy revenge. He thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, "They asked for it. Inform the county government that demons from the demon nation want to kill me." The servant said, "Those demons are very powerful. I'm afraid the county government can't deal with them." The Duke of Zhejiang snorted and said, "They can't deal with them, but someone can." In the Demon Emperor's cave, Li Mu lay on the grass with his hands behind his head. He held a blade of grass in his mouth and looked up at the sky. He had completed his mission to sneak into Thousand Fox Nation, and the show was over. Although he wasn't so obsessed that he couldn't get out, after lying here for 2 days, the figures of Phantom Princess, Hu Jio and the people from Meizong sect often appeared in his mind. Sure enough, he couldn't act for too long. Otherwise it would be easy to distinguish between the scenes and the scenes. Li Mu stretched out his hand. There was a spiritual jade in his palm. In the center of the spiritual jade, there was a red mark in the shape of a blood drop. He left the spiritual jade in the Demon Emperor's space and disappeared on the spot. Zhejiang County, somewhere in Xinjiang County. Li Mu's figure appeared out of thin air. He took out the spiritual conch and injected his magic power. The Empress' angry voice came from the spiritual conch. "Li Mu, if you don't let me speak this time, I'll teach you a lesson when you come back." With their speed they would be here by this time tomorrow. He had just turned a corner when he heard an incredulous voice from behind him. "Little Snake." Li Mu turned around subconsciously. When he saw Hu Jio's face, he knew he was in trouble. Hu Jio ran over excitedly and grabbed Li Mu's arm. She said in surprise, "Little Snake, it's really you. You didn't die." Hu Jio wasn't the only one who was excited. Phantom Princess also had an indescribable look of surprise on her face. Only Hu Lu looked at him with surprise and doubt. Li Mu waved his hand to get rid of Hu Jio. Hu Jio was stunned and asked, "Little Snake, what's wrong with you? Don't you recognize me?" Phantom Princess seemed to realize something. She looked at Li Mu and the light in her eyes quickly dimmed. At such a close distance, she didn't feel the existence of that drop of essence blood. The person in front of her wasn't Little Snake. Li Mu looked at Phantom Princess and smiled. Fox, we meet again. Little Snake wouldn't call Lord Phantom Princess that. Wuxia finally reacted. She took a few steps back and blurted out, "You are Li Mu. The real Li Mu." Li Mu looked at Wuxia and finally looked at Phantom Princess. He said, "The great consecrator said that he saw another me in Thousand Fox Country. I didn't believe it at first, but now it seems to be true. Phantom Princess, you are too much. You don't dare to fight with me on the surface, but you humiliate me behind my back." Phantom Princess looked haggard and didn't want to talk about that. She said coldly, "What are you doing here?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "This is Zhejiang County, one of the 36 counties in Great Zhou. I should be the one asking you this question. What are you doing here? Do you want to do something bad again?" Seeing this familiar face, Wuxia was reminded of something sad. She gritted her teeth and said, "What right do you have to say that we are going to do bad things? Do monsters have to do bad things? You humans have done more bad things than us." Li Mu was stunned. Then he said, "Sorry, that's not what I meant. After all, we have been through life and death together. Don't quarrel as soon as you see me. What are you doing here?" Wuxia wanted to take the opportunity to vent her anger. She didn't expect the human in front of her to be so polite and apologize to her. She was a little confused. Phantom Princess turned her head and said, "It's none of your business." Li Mu said, "Why are you like this? Is this how you heavenly foxes talk to your benefactor?" Phantom Princess said calmly, "Our grudges are even. From now on we don't owe each other anything." Li Mu patted his chest and sighed. "Touch your conscience. What grudges do we have? You wanted to kill me in the beginning. Later I saved you and let bygones be bygones. Now you say that our grudges are even." Phantom Princess took a deep breath and asked, "Then what do you want?" Li Mu smiled and said, "Tell me the cultivation method of the five-tailed spirit fox. From now on, our grudges are even. We don't owe each other anything." Phantom Princess's heart skipped a beat. Although the Fox clan did not impart their cultivation techniques to outsiders, it was not absolute. Using a portion of their cultivation techniques in exchange for Li Mu's acknowledgement of ending their karma was a very good deal for her. She looked at Li Mu and reached out her hand. "It's a deal." "Huh." Li Mu high-fived her and said, "It's a deal." Phantom Princess said, "Come closer." Li Mu leaned over and Phantom Princess whispered a few words in his ear. Li Mu naturally knew the cultivation method of the five-tailed spirit fox. He wanted to use this chance to eliminate Phantom Princess's inner demons and karma. This was what the little snake owed her. Although Phantom Princess hated him, she was sincere. The cultivation method she talked about was exactly the same as what Li Mu had comprehended from the Heavenly Book. However, he still looked at Phantom Princess suspiciously and asked, "You didn't just make it up to trick me, right?" Phantom Princess said coldly, "I swear on the Heavenly Fox. If I lie, let me die from the thunder tribulation." After that, she didn't look at Li Mu anymore. She said to Hulu and Wuxia, "Let's go." The local government had already noticed them. They also saw the military in the county city. If they continued to move, they might fall into the hands of the Great Zhou military. No matter how unwilling they were, they could only return to Thousand Fox Country and plan for the long term. Wait. They had just taken 2 steps when Li Mu's voice came from behind them again. Phantom Princess turned around and frowned. "What else do you want?" Li Mu looked at Phantom Princess and said, "I came to Zhejiang County under the orders of my empress to investigate the second-rank king of Zhejiang. Someone reported that the second-rank king of Zhejiang allowed his subordinates to do some illegal things. However, I'm not familiar with this place. I know that the Meizong sect is more familiar with this place. How about this, you tell me some more clues about this case?" Wuxia and Hulu looked at each other and saw joy in each other's eyes. Li Mu didn't keep his word. He just said that the grudge was written off and now he mentioned it again. However, they were worried about how to avenge the little snake and how to save their compatriots imprisoned by the second-rank king of Zhejiang. They could use this person. Phantom Princess's eyes flashed. Then she said, "I can help you, but you have to promise me one thing." Li Mu asked, "What is it?" Phantom Princess said, "There are many demons imprisoned by the second-rank king of Zhejiang. If you punish the queen of Zhejiang, I will take these demons away." Li Mu smiled and said, "As long as you are willing to help me, that's easy." With their speed they would be here by this time tomorrow. He had just turned a corner when he heard an incredulous voice from behind him. Little snake. Li Mu turned around subconsciously. When he saw Hu Jio's face he knew he was in trouble. Hu Jio ran over excitedly and grabbed Li Mu's arm. She said in surprise, "Little snake, it's really you. You didn't die." Hu Jio wasn't the only one who was excited. Phantom Princess also had an indescribable look of surprise on her face. Only Hu Lu looked at him with surprise and doubt. Li Mu waved his hand to shake off Hu Jio. Hu Jio was stunned and asked, "Little snake, what's wrong? Don't you recognize me?" Phantom Princess seemed to realize something. She looked at Li Mu and the light in her eyes quickly dimmed. At such a close distance she didn't feel the existence of that drop of essence blood. The person in front of her wasn't Little Snake. Li Mu looked at Phantom Princess and smiled. "Fox, we meet again." Little Snake wouldn't call Lord Phantom Princess that. Hu Jio finally reacted. She took a few steps back and blurted out, "You're Li Mu. The real Li Mu." Li Mu looked at Hu Jio and finally looked at Phantom Princess. He said, "The great consecrator said that he saw another me in Thousand Fox Country. I didn't believe it at first, but now it seems to be true. Phantom Princess, you've gone too far. You don't dare to fight with me on the surface, but you humiliate me behind my back." Phantom Princess looked haggard and didn't want to talk about that. She said coldly, "What are you doing here?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "This is Zhejiang County, one of the 36 counties in Great Zhou. I should be the one asking you this question. What are you doing here? Do you want to do something bad again?" Seeing this familiar face, Hu Jio was reminded of something sad. She gritted her teeth and said, "Why do you say we're doing bad things? Do monsters have to do bad things? You humans have done more bad things than us." Li Mu was stunned for a moment. Then he said, "Sorry, that's not what I meant. We've been through life and death together. Don't quarrel as soon as you see me. What are you doing here?" Hu Jio wanted to take the opportunity to vent her anger. She didn't expect the human in front of her to be so polite and apologize to her. She didn't know what to do. Phantom Princess turned her head and said, "It's none of your business." Li Mu said, "Why are you like this? Is this how you heavenly foxes talk to your benefactor?" Phantom Princess said calmly, "Our grudges are even. From now on we don't owe each other anything." Li Mu patted his chest and sighed, "Touch your conscience. What grudges do we have? You wanted to kill me in the beginning. Later I saved you and let bygones be bygones. Now you say that our grudges are even." Phantom Princess took a deep breath and asked, "Then what do you want?" Hearing the voice from the spirit conch, he was stunned for a moment. Then, his expression immediately became serious. He said solemnly, Yes, okay. I will help Lord Li deal with this matter. I will take my leave." He slowly took the spirit conch from his ear and handed it to Li Mu with both hands. He said, "Lord Li, take care of this treasure. Her Majesty has ordered me to help you deal with the case of the county governor of Zhejiang." The county governor of Zhejiang panicked when his only reinforcements betrayed him. He grabbed the general in golden armor's arm and said in a trembling voice, "It's fake. It's all fake. General Lu, please don't believe me. Please don't believe me." Even though they were far apart, the general in golden armor could feel how powerful the person on the other side of the spirit conch was. The general in golden armor slowly backed away and said, "If you are innocent, you can report this to Lord Li. I believe that the imperial court will give you justice. You can rest assured that even if Lord Li does not have enough evidence, I will protect you." Rest assured? Rest assured my ass. The county governor of Zhejiang was in despair. He knew what he had done. If this happened a year ago he would not be afraid. Even if the matter was exposed, there were countless people in the fairy's capital who would protect him. However, it was different now. The county governor of Nanyang, his cousin, had committed far fewer crimes than him. In the end he was beheaded and his body and soul were destroyed. Once the matter of the county governor's mansion was exposed, his life would be over. The county governor of Zhejiang did not hesitate to crush a jade talisman in his hand. His body instantly disappeared from the spot. At the same time, the space outside the county governor's mansion was distorted. He staggered and fell out. He took out a flying boat and was about to escape when he suddenly noticed that the old man who had been standing behind Li Mu in the county governor's mansion was standing at the bow of the boat. He looked at the county governor with a smile and asked, "Where are you going?" In his panic, the county governor of Zhejiang did not even care about the flying boat. He crushed another jade talisman. The next time he appeared, he was dozens of miles away. However, not far ahead there was a figure waiting for him. It was a man who looked exactly like the old man. He looked at the county governor of Zhejiang indifferently and said, "Don't waste your energy. If I let you escape today, how can I stay in the imperial court in the future?" The county governor of Zhejiang tried to escape, but he was caught by the two great reverends. This time, even the general in golden armor did not bother to pay attention to him. The county governor of Zhejiang refused to admit to his crimes. Due to his status, Li Mu could not take any forceful measures against him before the evidence was conclusive. However, it was different for his retainers. The two great reverends had already gone to arrest him. The results would be out very soon. In this period of time, Li Mu and the general in golden armor had chatted for a while, and they had become familiar with each other. He also learned that this was one of the four great generals of the Great Zhou's northern army. He came from White Deer Academy. Apart from the imperial army, the Great Zhou also had the four armies of the north, south, east, and west. Of these, the northern army was the strongest. The four great generals that guarded this place were all sixth-level cultivators. This was because compared to the three armies, the county governor of Zhejiang guarded by the northern army was more dangerous. The Yao kingdom had always been eyeing the Great Zhou covetously. The threat it posed was even greater than that of the Ghost Realm and the southern kingdoms. The general in golden armor smiled and said, "My elder brother once said that this year's martial scholar was skilled in martial arts. At the same level of cultivation, even the bravest and most skilled soldier of the northern army might not be able to defeat you. Seeing you today, I know that his words were not exaggerated." Li Mu asked, "Who is your esteemed elder brother?" The general in golden armor said, "My elder brother was the assistant minister of the Ministry of War. A family with two fierce generals, and the assistant minister of the Ministry of War had even taught him how to use telekinesis to gather force." Li Mu immediately felt deep veneration. He cupped his hands and said, my apologies. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Li Mu thought of something and asked, "I have a matter that I would like to ask General Lu about." The general in golden armor smiled and said, "Lord Li, there is no harm in asking." Li Mu asked, "The former assistant minister of the Ministry of Justice, Zhou Zhong, was once sentenced to exile because of a case. What is his current situation?" The general in golden armor shook his head and said, "He was once sent to the northern army but not long after, he disappeared." Li Mu said, "Disappeared?" The general in golden armor nodded and said, "He is very strong. In just 2 months he made a lot of military contributions. I originally wanted to promote him to deputy general, but 3 months ago, after he destroyed a small Yao kingdom by himself, he completely disappeared and has not been seen since." Li Mu was not worried about Zhou Zhong's disappearance. Until now he still did not know how much strength Zhou Zhong had hidden. A person like him was strong and could endure. Everything he did was probably calculated by him, so there was no need for others to worry about him. Li Mu and General Lu did not chat for long before the two great reverends came back. Huan Ji and Hu Jiu were very familiar with the Zhejiang commandery prince and his subordinates. They were the ones who suggested who to arrest first and who to arrest later. Of the 10 great heretical cultivation masters, 4 were already dead. Of the remaining 6, none of them managed to escape. Under the methods of the two great reverends, they confessed to their crimes. The Zhejiang commandery prince was the instigator. According to the laws of the Great Zhou, his head should be chopped off 100 times. The general in golden armor said, "I did not expect such a thing to happen in Zhejiang commandery." Huan Ji said coldly, "You all say that we Yao clan are causing trouble for the people of Zhejiang commandery, but the truth is that we Yao clan are being persecuted by you humans in Zhejiang commandery. Don't you feel ashamed to say that you want to kill Yao clan?" This time, less than 10% of the victims rescued by the government were humans. More than 90% were Yao clan. The general in golden armor and the officials of Zhejiang commandery could not answer Huan Ji. The laws of the Great Zhou protected the people of the Great Zhou, not the Yao clan. Although this was the truth, they had a balance in their hearts. What maintained this balance was their conscience as living beings. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Li Mu said, "That's enough. You cannot represent all Yao clan, and the Zhejiang Commandery Prince cannot represent all humans. Your view is too extreme. There are many Yao clan that harm people. Isn't the Imperial Court's investigation of the Zhejiang Commandery Prince a representation of our attitude? Huanji did not argue with Li Mu. She said, I want to see the Zhejiang Commandery Prince. The general in golden armor said firmly, impossible. Although the Zhejiang Commandery Prince was a criminal, he was still a noble. Who knew what this fox demon would do after seeing him? Naturally, he could not let this demon see him. Li Mu glanced at the golden armored general and said in a low voice, General Lu, you've seen the miserable state of those demons, haven't you? You also have a wife and a daughter. Think about it. The Commandery Prince of Zhejiang is a scumbag. He has destroyed so many of those demons. If we don't let them spit and slap them in front of him, we will be too inhumane. The general in golden armor thought of the hellish scene in the human world. A ball of anger rose in his heart. He closed his eyes and said, Lord Li is the imperial envoy. Everything is up to you. Li Mu brought Huanji to the door of the prison. He said softly, I only have one request. Don't kill them. Otherwise, I will not be able to explain myself. Huanji nodded and said, I know what to do. She who 6 and who 9 entered the prison. After 15 minutes they came out. Li Mu asked, What did you find out? Huanji shook her head and said, Nothing. But someone did tell him. Hu Jiu punched the wall heavily. She gritted her teeth and said, It's that person. It's that person who killed Little Snake. Don't let me know who he is. Otherwise I will smash his ass and cut him into pieces. Li Mu patted her shoulder and comforted her. The dead can't come back to life. My condolences. Hu Jiu suddenly looked up at Li Mu and said, Most humans are hypocritical and shameless. They are greedy and cruel. You're a good person. Why don't you join the Meizong sect? With your ability, you will have a high position in the Meizong sect. Li Mu said, I also have a high position in the Great Zhou court. Hu Jiu continued to tempt him, the beauties of the Thousand Fox country are unparalleled. You can marry many. Think about it. Aren't the beauties of the Fox clan beautiful? Aren't the beauties of the Snake clan clingy? There are also the beauties of the Cat clan, the Rabbit clan, the Dog clan. Stop, stop, stop. Li Mu looked at Hu Jiu and asked, Do you think I am that kind of lecherous person? Hu Jiu asked back, Aren't you? Li Mu coughed softly and said, What I mean is, although I am lustful, I don't want everything. I am loyal to the Empress. I am the Empress's man when I am alive, and the Empress's ghost when I die. You should give up. Hu Jiu thought for a moment and said, You don't like other people, but do you not like Master Phantom Princess? Do you dare to say that you don't like Master Phantom Princess? If you don't like Master Phantom Princess, why are you so nice to us? Phantom Princess's face darkened. Hu Jiu. Li Mu thought that he was very careful in front of Phantom Princess and Hu Jiu. He would never let them think that he was Little Snake. But he still neglected a very important point. In order to make up for deceiving Phantom Princess and Hu Jiu, Li Mu had been very nice to them these 2 days. Although he often dissed Phantom Princess, he actually indulged her and took care of her to the extreme. He even made an exception to meet her unreasonable requests. As for the real Li Mu, the moment he met Phantom Concubine he would fight to the death. In comparison, the change in his personality was especially obvious. He had avoided all the small openings but revealed the biggest one. Hu Jiu's question went straight to the point. Phantom Princess didn't realize that when she went back, she might have some associations that Li Mu didn't want her to have. When Li Mu pretended to be Little Snake, he was ravaged by Phantom Princess every day. He massaged her legs, shoulders, and feet. If Phantom Princess knew that Li Mu was Little Snake, Li Mu would have no face in front of her in the future. He absolutely couldn't allow such a thing to happen. There must be a way to explain it, there must be a way to explain it. Li Mu looked at Hu Jiu and an idea flashed in his mind. He simply admitted, Yes, that's right. I like Phantom Princess, but you found out. Hu Jiu was stunned and Phantom Princess was even more stunned. Li Mu's expression became even more indifferent. He said, You also know that I'm very lecherous. Fortunately, he had a strong will. Normal men wouldn't be able to resist the temptation of cat girls, rabbit girls, beautiful fox demons, and clingy snake girls. They would have been persuaded by Hu Jiu to betray him. In a sense, Li Mu and the Empress were both pitiful people. One of them had a husband who died a long time ago, while the other was separated from his wife. If it weren't for their status and self-control, who knew what kind of sparks would fly between them after spending so much time together? Xiao Bai had already started cultivating according to the new method. On the flying boat to the divine capital, Li Mu looked at Wan Wan and Xiao Bai, who was laughing and playing with each other. He couldn't help but think of Phantom Princess and the days when he was undercover in Thousand Fox Nation. There were no conspiracies, no schemes, and no schemes. Those were the days he missed, Thousand Fox Nation. Phantom Princess spent a few days settling down the demons and human female cultivators she rescued from Zhejiang County. Then she dragged her exhausted body back to her residence. Her magic power and body were overused. Even with her cultivation base, she felt physically and mentally exhausted at this moment. It was already late at night. She walked to her courtyard and sat on a stone chair. She said subconsciously, "Little snake, come and help me massage my back." There was no response for a long time. Phantom Princess said again, "Little?" Her voice gradually trailed off and finally disappeared completely. Only a long sigh was left in the silent courtyard. At the same time, in Thousand Fox Nation's imperial palace, Bai Xian was pacing in his palace with a displeased expression. He snorted coldly, "I thought the Duke of Zhejiang was powerful. He's simply a piece of trash among trash. He let them escape." A servant behind him said, "I've already asked around. If it wasn't for that damn snake, Hu Jiao and the others wouldn't have survived this time." Bai Xian said, "I've long disliked that snake. It's good that he's dead. Next time no one will ruin our plans. However, if junior sister dies like this, it'll be a pity. The heavenly fox bloodline in her body is so thick that even master can't compare to it. If I can dual cultivate with her, it'll be very beneficial for me." He tidied up his clothes and smiled. "She almost died this time. As her senior brother, I should go and see her." Phantom Princess residence. Phantom Princess sat in the courtyard and said lightly, "I'm fine. Crown Prince, please go back. I need to rest." Bai Xian stood outside the courtyard and said, "Junior sister, rest well. I'll go back first." He didn't even step into the courtyard. Bai Xian returned to the palace with a gloomy face. When he returned to his bedroom, he saw a black figure standing in the hall. His expression immediately became respectful. He bowed and said, "Envoy, what are your orders?" The black figure asked eerily, "You should know where Heaven Lord of Illusion is in seclusion, right?" Bai Xian's eyelids twitched. He quickly smiled and said, "This seclusion is very important to him. Although he didn't tell me the exact location, there are only a few. If I search one by one, I'll find it." That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.